Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to call to order the Town of Lake Clark Shores Town Council meeting for April 9th, 2024. Roll call, please.
Mayor Gregory Freebold,
Here.
Councilmember John Maples.
Here.
Councilmember Bridget Keating,
Present.
Councilmember Taylor Materio,
Here.
Councilmember Christy Mashbach.
Here.
Thank you. We'd all stand for a moment of silence, please. We have three individuals on this evening. The first one, Jim Barbie. Now, the Barbie family lived in Lake Clark Shores since the 1960s. It's a long time. They actually used to live right next door to Helen Brunson. And then he moved over to Haddon Road. And Juan Espinoza, and Jim was only 77 years old. That's young in this day and age. And Juan Espinoza, who was 45, and that was our building department employee, Melissa Espinoza's brother-in-law. And then we have another individual who do not live in Lake Clark Shores, but I wanted to recognize him tonight. His name is Tim Rose, and we talk about our volunteers in Lake Clark Shores. Tim was a volunteer who volunteered for years and years for me for the fishing tournament and was the weighmaster. And he just did it because of his love for fishing. He didn't live in Lake Clark Shores, really didn't know anybody who lived here, but I got connected with him through some sponsors at the time, and he became a good friend of the town. And he was only 63 years old also, died of a heart aneurysm unexpectedly in a restaurant. So count all your blessings and remember life is precious and it's very short. May perpetual light shine upon these individuals and their memories be eternal. This evening, Mr. Shep will do our invocation.
God, our Heavenly Father, bless all of the town's endeavors, especially today's meeting. Guide us in our discussions, enlighten our minds in every decision that we make. Give us your grace that we may effectively do our parts as public servants. Bless the town's plans, programs, and projects so that we may achieve our objectives for your greater glory. Amen.
Pledge allegiance, Charlie.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. We're going to begin with audience comments. I have Tim.
Well, I'll wait until those agenda items come up, okay?
Okay, that's fine. You can do that. Do we have any other audience comments at this time? Yes, ma'am. Please come right up.
Ann Warren, 7524 Edgewater Circle. I just want to say, I wish the residents of Lake Clark Shores would know what the ordinances are and mind them. There's too much sloppiness in the town.
Too much what?
Sloppiness.
Sloppiness, okay.
People just don't do what the ordinance request. And I don't know, I find it very annoying. I don't like looking at somebody's garbage pail all week long, every day, et cetera, et cetera. And other people with piles that high of debris, 10, 12 feet long, just sitting out in their driveway. Why, I don't know, but they do. And I just wish that the town would see to having some kind of communication with them and educating them maybe a little, that that's just not the way to do it. But anyhow, that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, Ann.
Thank you.
Jan.
We have any other audience comments, Jim?
Yes. I'm Jim Boger, 7518 Edgewater Circle. And every morning using Gregory Road on the way out is happening with that corner. We've had a terrible accident there recently. The only way I know about it is because you can see the tire marks and the guy that's right there on the northwest corner there of Gregory and Fort Mangos, his car was destroyed.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
and I
Is
just,
it a line of sight issue?
yes,
Yes.
it's been bad since I opened that road back up. Now, I guess it was right after that they were putting a pole in, and they had two large electric trucks there, and they were hand digging a pole in, and there's four people behind, trying to get out. I couldn't see. I said, what do you want me to do? I can't turn right. I can't turn left. I wanted to go left, but you can always have the option. If you can see coming that way, you can go right. I mean, but I had to ask the guy, can you tell me when to come, when I can come out? Because the trucks were blocking it,
Right.
the site and the road. I don't know what you can do. There's one of those ponytail palms right there on the corner also. And then the bridge barricade there, and then the telephone pole, the power poles.
Good.
Pretty bad. I mean, I'm starting to use the Laurel Lane now. Get away from it.
They're coming back to finish that off. So we'll have a talk with the county engineers and stuff like that and see what they can do to address that.
You know about the accident that was there, correct?
I do, but there's other circumstances.
Okay. It could have been drunk driver. I don't know.
Narcotics and.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. So, I mean, when I came, I just saw the tire marks and the fact that I'm having trouble to get out. I figured everybody's got my problems. Thank God you don't. The other thing is, I just question about the possibilities or what the council's thinking about fixing the roads,
About what?
about
Roads.
fixing some of the roads.
It's in discussions.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. It's not on the front burner, but it's on the burners anyway.
So, yeah, it's in the pipeline.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Any other comments? Yes, ma'am, come right up.
Carol Hassel, 7205 Westlake Drive. I'd like to comment on the exact issue that gentleman has. I can't even go out that way anymore because I have a little small car and I can't see around the bridge and whatever that bridge part is. And it's very difficult. So I as well use Laurel Lane. Number two is that I would like to point out that gentleman right there. He deserves an award for being the best, most dedicated volunteer in entirety of Lake Clark Shores and other places. He was here for the picnic before, during, and after. He was there for the boat ramp last weekend for the fishing tournament. And the next morning, he was at the Solid Waste Authority volunteering at a 5K race. This guy's everywhere and he does everything. He deserves a plaque on the wall here.
Bill has received Volunteer of the Year award before,
Okay.
and he'll be here this Saturday too, if y'all come on down.
To
He'll be
the,
here this Saturday for the lake cleanup too. Participating more than volunteering.
The 20th.
20th, excuse me,
Not
that's
this-
next weekend. Yeah, I'm out of town this weekend.
Yeah.
I have
Thank you,
another
Bill.
granddaughter coming into the world, so
Oh, wow.
she's given notice. Okay, anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Come on up, Genevieve.
Genevieve Bobrowski, 7501 Pine Tree Lane. I've lived in this town over 40 years, and when I first moved here, I loved it here. Everybody was so warm and friendly, but things have changed lately, and I'm trying to help the seniors in this town. And I'm going to ask Mr. Maples and our three ladies if you will help me. We'd like to have some garage sales. And this town charges us $20 to have a garage sale. And I'm asking you to waive it and let us have a garage sale without having to pay for it. Because you give so many things free. You give your boat ramp free. You have your pickle game stuff. Why can't you give something to the seniors? And I'm working very hard and I need your help. Could you vote on it? Could you do it possibly tonight so we could get started and doing something for the seniors? I have a lot of other things I'd like to say, but I think I'll make it short tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Genevieve.
So can you give me an answer one way or another, please?
Stick around, we'll talk about it. Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay, do we have any email questions, ladies?
No,
No? No written questions or anything like that?
no,
We're good to
nothing
go?
online.
Okay, now we're going to move on to council appointments. Appointments to the town council for seats 4 and 5 for a 1-year term due to term expirations. Charlie, you want to jump in here and just explain the procedure that we're going to go through here?
Yes. Because we did not have an election, there are vacancies on the council because of expiration of terms. We have a full council, but they were appointed to fill the unexpired term of the people who resigned in December. And those terms are up now. And so they have to be reappointed for a new term. Because it's more than a year, they have to be appointed for 1 year and they have to run for reelection at the next election.
When seats 3, 4, and 5 come available, they will have to requalify.
Correct.
For that election.
Yes.
Okay. So this evening, it's going to be up to the council to reappoint those 2 seats. Seats 4 and 5. And I think that's Taylor and Christie, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a motion to appoint these 2 for a 1-year term?
Motion.
Second?
I will second that.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, we're good to go. Well, you're back, ladies. It was quick. It was quick. Okay, so now you will have to administer the oath of office once again.
Yes.
So
Do we have a copy of that oath?
we can get one pretty quickly.
Because they'll need to sign it also.
Yes.
Yeah, they have to sign.
Because it becomes a part of the public record.
Yes.
We can do that later.
We can swear them in and then I'll make sure they get it signed before they leave.
Okay.
I don't have anything to go.
He needs to read it.
Bridget, do you still have yours in your notebook?
I think so.
Maybe we could use that as a
Yes.
reading thing.
That's it.
If you ladies would stand. And after I say aye, I'll let you state your names. I,
Christy Mossbach.
Taylor Materio,
a citizen of the state of Florida
a citizen of the state of Florida
and of the United States of America,
and of the United States of America,
and being an officer of the town of Lake Clark Shores
and being an officer of the town of Lake Clark Shores,
and a recipient of public funds as such officer,
and as a recipient of public funds as such officer,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and government of the United States
the Constitution and government of the United States
and of the state of Florida,
and of the state of Florida,
that I am duly qualified to hold office
that I am duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state,
under the Constitution of the state,
and that I will well and faithfully perform
and that I will well and faithfully perform
all of the duties of the office of councilwoman of the town of Lake Clark Shores,
all of the duties of the office of councilwoman of the town of Lake Clark Shores,
on which I am now about to enter, so help me God.
on which I am now about to enter, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Just keep that. We'll keep that for next.
Keep that in reserve.
Yeah, keep
Tack
it.
it.
We may need that.
That was very handy.
Yes.
Okay, so now we will move to the reorganization of the town council. And we'll have nominations for mayor, vice mayor, and president pro tem. So who wants to go first? Because I can't do it, so.
Charlie, can I ask, I believe, what are the actual terms, like for mayor?
It's for 1 year.
1 year.
Yes.
1 year, and you can do 2 consecutive years in any of the positions. So if you're the vice mayor, you can be vice mayor 2 terms,
No,
or
just the
then
mayor.
you off 1, you can be on 1. You just can't do more than 2.
No, no, I think the charter says only the mayor could be, the vice mayor could be.
Yeah, we've typically rotated it after every 2 years, but it's the mayor that can only serve the 2.
Yeah, it's only the mayor.
So we could then keep Mayor Freebold in as mayor for a second year.
Correct.
Mr. Mayor, are you willing to serve another term?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Well, I would like to nominate you to continue to serve as mayor, to finish out that second year. I think there's been a lot of change on the council
Sure.
in the last few months. It would be good to have your historic knowledge and continued leadership.
Okay.
And I would also be inclined to nominate Councilmember Maples for vice mayor.
Okay. Do you have somebody in mind you would like to add into that, President Pro Tem? And then we'll just have one thing, and it's going to be one of you ladies, so.
Bridget, would you be willing to fill that role?
I'd be honored.
Okay, that would be my nominations.
Okay, so we have a nomination on the table for myself for mayor, Mr. Maples vice mayor, and Bridget Keating for president pro tem. All in favor? Oh, second, excuse me. We need a second.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carries 5-0. See, even with all the experience, I learned something new tonight. I thought that all of the seats that were only allowed 2-year terms. But I guess it's just the mayor. So that's part of the strong manager, weak mayor form of government that we have, and not all the municipalities have that. Some of them actually have where the mayor runs for the actual seat. So.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. I hope to exceed everybody's expectations. I do take it seriously and I do work hard, and Joe knows that. I put in a lot of time, so. Okay.
Thank you for your knowledge and experience.
Yes, we are going to continue to all work together to move forward. That's the plan. So we'll take a motion for approval of agenda.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Wait,
All those-
wait, I have a couple of questions on that.
Okay,
Thank you.
Let me get up to the bulkhead issue, but give me just a second. I gotta find that paper.
She has to pull it. Just as a matter of order, if you want to pull anything, you just have to pull that item and we can add it on the later on part of the agenda.
But we would do that when we get to item 6,
Right now, it's just the minute.
just the approval of the
The
agenda.
overall agenda, not the consent agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. Forgive me. I was talking about the consent agenda.
Yeah, it's
Forgive
okay.
me. Sorry.
okay. Which will work the same way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Consent, typically what you will do is you'll get a hold, when you get the packet and you read it and you want to pull something off the agenda for discussion, you let Joe know, he'll pull it off and notify everybody, and then we'll talk about it at that and then go from there.
But you have the ability when we get to the motion on the consent agenda to pull the item for discussion.
Right. So when we say, is there a motion for consent? You would say, Mr. Mayor, we want to pull whatever it is you want to discuss from it, and we'll move it into new business. Correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
That's item B, 6B.
6B, but right now we're talking about the
Agenda.
approval of the regular agenda. So we have a,
Motion.
and then a second.
Yes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, carries 5-0. Okay, so now we're going to get an approval for the consent agenda. Now this is where, is there something in there you want to pull off and put under new business?
Well, I just have a question.
Well, then we'll put it under new business.
Okay. And I also have a question about F.
So you can,
Okay.
So you
do
can
them.
make a motion,
So-
but removing those B and F to new unfinished or new discussion, new business. So you can. make a
I
motion.
so move.
Okay, so what items you want to
B and F.
B and F.
DNF?
B as in boy.
DNF. Got it.
So the motion was to approve the consent agenda with moving B and F, to the unfinished business or new business rather.
Correct. You're making that motion.
Well, that's what she made.
She's
I
making
was
the motion. You're
clarifying
going to
it.
second it?
And I
Are you
will
gonna
second,
second
I
it?
will
Okay.
second that.
All those in favor?
Clarity.
Aye. Okay, carries. Okay, we have no presentations, no quasi judicial proceedings, no public hearing, no unfinished business. We will move into new business and we will talk about awarding a contract to replace the Pine Tree Lane Bridge. Mr. Lubell?
Thank you. The Pine Tree Replacement Bridge has 10 years, over 10 years of history. And for that reason, and for the materiality of this project, I invited the whole team that is working on this project to be here at the meeting. We have Keith Jackson from the Ingenuity Group. He's on phone virtually. We have Simon Coleman. He's our structural engineer. And we also have Dan Clark, who was currently working as a part-time town engineer and was our town manager for the last, more than the last decade, who has a lot of historical knowledge if you have any questions. So if I could, I'll do a review of the financial part. And then if you have any questions on the engineering or any other questions, we'll take those. In 2022, the town was awarded $600,000 for this grant from the state. They did a very good job. The estimate was 1.2 million, and they got a state appropriations that is approved for $600,000. Last year in September, we budgeted $1,350,000 for this project. That included the 1.2 million for the estimate and also some inflation and for engineering oversight. In October, we opened our bids and we received only one bid at the time, and it was at $3.2 million, way over our estimate of obviously 1.2 million. We received comments from the contractors stating that the complexity of leaving one lane open at a time added to the cost of the project and added obviously the duration of the project. So the team gathered and we redesigned the project to change the maintenance. It's an MOT, but it's the maintenance of traffic portion of the design to close the road from the bridge to Forest Hill Boulevard for the duration of the project. We went out to bid again. We opened those bids last month, and our lowest bid is at $2,465,000 and change, which is $730,000 of savings. It's a very big material number of savings. And also it will reduce the duration of the project significantly because you don't have to worry about one lane being open at a time. We also, thanks to the mayor and John Maples and Richard Penske, we asked the state for help again because the project is way over budget. And they have put in the budget this year, the state's budget, an extra $250,000. And there's a good sign we're going to get that money. It still can be vetoed by the governor, but all indications we're getting, it's not going to be vetoed, but obviously it's a little early to tell. So financially, let's wrap it up. If you decide to go forward with this project, the town will have to amend the current budget to add over $1 million from reserves to fund this project. The current, and that's a very significant money because the town's currently only has about $1.5 million in reserves and approximately $500,000 in our 1% surtax money, which is eligible for this kind of project. So it roughly will eat up about half of our reserves. So if you have any questions about the project or the financing, the team's here. We're here to answer questions.
Direct them to you or to the team?
Yeah, anyone. I'll take questions or the team.
So, said you're gonna get additional funds, that would bring it up to 900,000, more or less,
850,000.
and 2.4?
It's 2,465,000 and change. It's in there.
And what was the time frame that you said it got reduced to?
Both in the RFP, they had to do the project by 310 days. We haven't met with the contractor yet, but we'll see what the contractor will say, but they have to do it by 310 days.
Go ahead. The proposal here, or the memo talks about the rating of the bridge and how there's a formula used to allocate federal funds based upon the lower the rating, the more the funds.
Right.
If we wait and the rating gets lower, will we get more money for it?
Well, it's a money question. Maybe I'll take that one. There's no guarantee of money. Even this year, one of the reasons why I thank the mayor and I thank John, because there was very little appropriations selected this year. The budget was actually reduced and it was very tight to get any money. We actually asked for $500,000. We got $250,000. So there's no guarantee in the future if the rating goes down, and they'll talk about the engineers in the audience here will talk about the ratings, but if the ratings get worse, there's no guarantee we'll get any money. It's a town-owned bridge and we're responsible for it.
And also, if I may add, it's very unusual that we received appropriations. The costs exceeded what the appropriations were, and we went back and asked for more money. It's very unusual that.
Yeah, that is unusual.
Awarded those extra dollars.
Yes.
So we feel very fortunate about that. I wish it was 500,000, but we'll take the 250. So that's, that's something for consideration.
Now, you said, now we have 1.5 million in reserve as it stands, you said?
We measure it every once a year. It's a moving target, but we have like 1 point, and the auditors will be here next month, but somewhere between 1.5 and 1.8.
Coming up on a new budget year. This is just me thinking outside the box. Could we split like if we did at the end of the year, beginning of the second year into 2 different years as far as using the funds?
We can, and we'll talk about that when we meet with the contractor, but it really would not affect the reserves of the reserves. It's a stagnant number.
Who would I address the structural?
Simon is here, or like I said, Dan there and Keith. Hello, Dan. Hi, Keith.
Just multiple questions. One, the structural, what is it going to look like? Is it going to be wider than we have? Is it going to have pedestrian walkways?
Simon, come on up.
The-
Come on up. And we'll let,
the
hello,
boating
Mr.
access?
Clark.
Is it gonna
Hello
improve
there.
Boating access,
Keith, how are you?
Well,
Dan, you wanna
I've been better. I got COVID this week.
Oh, yeah, you have been better then.
Yeah, and so that's why I'm virtual, or I would be there in person tonight. Sorry about that.
You're going to repeat the question. Basically, the
You're
structural,
asking about the
actual structural
format.
and what the aesthetic appearance of it's going to be.
well, the bridge is going to be a fairly similar format to what it is now. It's going to be a 2-lane bridge. I believe there's only a sidewalk on one side. It's going to be wider. There's going to be wider lanes. There's going to be wider shoulders. There's going to be a sidewalk on one side. It's going to be a single span bridge as well. The current bridge is a 3-span bridge.
Okay.
We coordinate with Drainage District to control that, and we have a single span bridge. We are at least as high. There's at least as much clearance as at the existing bridge for boating traffic.
Okay.
In fact, I think we may be a fraction higher. I mean, maybe Dan and Keith could confirm.
in height, but in width, we have way more width.
We've more width clear,
Yes.
and that we've less overall length of the bridge, but there's more width between the piles, basically. So
Yes.
there's a much wider opening for boats to go through. And I know the one condition we worked to was that the clearance, the low member of the bridge would be no lower than it is today.
Correct.
And that is the case. So
Is there going to be any kind of railing or protective? Is it going to be the same height that the railing and people walking across as pedestrians?
there's going to be, everything will be current standards for railings as far as traffic, and there's railings as far as handrails on the sidewalk as well. So they meet current FDOT standards, which is one of the issues with the bridge at the moment. It's functionally obsolete, which means it doesn't meet lane widths, sidewalk widths, barrier, crash barriers, and not the, do not meet current standards, and things like pedestrian railings too. So
I understood they were going to take out some of the landscaping. Could you elaborate on what landscaping they?
I can't elaborate on the landscaping. I don't know if
Dan can.
Dan can in some way.
We're removing some of the bigger trees on the corners of the bridge to facilitate construction. And then we're making changes to landscaping internal to the parks, but it's not significant. We're adding back a couple of specimen trees. We're changing. The intent is that Pine Tree Park can be used on occasion for parking for some of our events. So we're putting in a 2-lane entryway into Pine Tree Park. And there will be some, we call it armoring. There will be some improvements to the grass so that it can handle vehicular traffic on occasion for parking within that area. And we'll be moving some of the landscaping around to facilitate entrance and exit of Pine Tree Park. Pine Tree Park is the intended laydown area for construction. So there will be a lot of rebuilding that has to occur there, and that's the responsibility of the contractor.
Now, we said the landscaping is at the northwest corner and southeast corner, or there's different, where are the landscape you're talking about you have to take out?
Both the northeast corner and the southeast corner and northwest corner both will get those trees removed.
And all of that was part of the RFP.
Yes.
Correct.
And a couple of questions that are underneath, there's actually like where people fish, is that gonna stay, does that go away? There's like a ledge, a semi, or lack of a better word, semi seawall right there, right underneath those trees. Is that something that's staying, going?
All of the old bridge goes away, so all of that is coming out.
Okay, so there's gonna be no more access down there for anybody. I don't know whether people want it or don't want it, but there's gonna be no more access for people to be.
You won't be able to walk through under the bridge.
Okay.
Like you can now.
Okay.
Will the railing heights be the same
On the bridge?
as what they currently are?
I can't say they're going to be the same, but if anything, they're going to be higher. They're going to meet the current standards. The current standards for traffic railing, for the crash rating, and then the hand railing. There's only a sidewalk on one side of the bridge, and there's an open shoulder on the other. And so there's a sidewalk on the one, so that both sides have traffic barriers for the traffic safety. And then there'll be a double handrail on top of the one traffic barrier that's on adjacent to the sidewalk, which will be to current FDOT standards.
Is there going to be any lighting across the bridge?
Dan, I understand there's going to be lighting on the corners, right?
We're making it available, but we're not actually installing poles, right, Dan?
Correct.
The
We put in the conduit and the base pads to support lighting, but this contract does not include the poles themselves.
Correct.
Is there going to be any kind of lighting underneath the bridge for boating?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not that I know of.
No.
Okay. And I don't know if this is within my purview or not. Is there a way to get some kind of rough rendering of what we're looking at? Because it's a little bit different than what we have. And I'm new to this area, but I know the residents would appreciate some kind of idea of what's going to be the final outcome. Is that something too much to ask for?
Artistic rendering, I think she's asking.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
There
I
is.
I agree with Bridget. I think that's important for us to see what.
It's not something we have. It's something we can discuss internally and with the town as to.
I can get a price. I can get a price from them and bring that back because it obviously would cost money.
Right. It's. But we say the same but different. It is a similar type bridge, but you are doing the new upgrades. You're doing the walkway. You're taking out the landscaping. You're gonna have prepare for do new lighting. So you're gonna people. I'm sure. It has nothing to do with me being on Pine Tree. I think it would be aesthetically pleasing, and people need to know what they're getting the money for.
I can tell you one thing that's going to occur is when you're boating through there, there will not be that skinny span that you have to go through that people are bouncing off of,
right?
Which is a structural problem. And I have in the past actually put reflector lights on each one of those for people to go through.
Right.
My neighbor and I have gone down there and done that years and years ago. So it will be a wider span for boats to get through there, which will be
It's going to be
safer.
significantly wider.
Yes.
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 I hesitate to put a number on it, but I'm going to guess at least twice.
Other than that, they're not going to notice 3 inches.
No, but yes, it's not less.
But, and we did, Dan, if you recall, we asked for that appearance where the bridge would go up and they wouldn't let that happen. Am I correct there, Dan? DOT
Yes.
wouldn't let that, the arched bridge?
Correct.
Okay.
Did they give any reason why?
Traffic
There
issue.
is. In the civil design drawings that Keith produced, sheet 7 shows a pretty good layout, pretty understandable layout, plan view of what's going to happen. It shows the sidewalks and it shows the sidewalk on the west side. It shows the extra lane width on the right side. It shows the connections to the park and the material that will be removed. It does not show the pad for the lighting. You have to go to Simon's drawings, the structural drawings, to be able to see the pads for the lighting. There is another sheet in Keith's civil drawings that show what it looks like looking under the bridge. So if the town has those drawings, if you'd like to stop by and take a look at those and get a feel for that, and if you would like to include me in a Zoom call or include Keith or Simon in a Zoom call, I'm sure the manager would allow that to occur so we could walk you through what's in those drawings.
I mean, we could discuss this further, but for me, I understand a lot more than most lay people as far as the structural component of the bridge. I just wanted some simple layman's terms for the residents to know, because this is a big project. They're going to be an inconvenience. Everybody's been waiting for this bridge as far as since I lived here. And that's just given what we're going to spend their money on. And it's just very simple. It doesn't have to be very complex. It's a very simple rendering of what the bridge is going to look like. Because I think people are going to be, are going to be excited, from the boating community to the walking community to the pedestrian, all the above. So I think it's in our best interest to do a basic rendering of what the bridge is going to look like.
I agree very much.
Dan, a couple of those trees that you're talking about are coming out are invasives, correct? There's
Correct.
a few sheep layers in there that are on the hit list for to come out.
Correct.
So that's a good thing.
Yes. Yes. They should come out.
I think that's all the questions I have.
So that's, Joe, that's your call on giving the drawings and things like that. That's an additional cost to the bottom line.
Yeah, I'll get
How much does a rendering like that normally run?
I mean, these days, those things are getting cheaper because they're far more commonly available, but it's not something that we personally do. We would have to get somebody to do that for us.
Keith, can you provide that?
I don't think we could provide an artist rendering. No, like Dan said, we could take our civil drawing and try and help people understand what that shows. But we do not do an aesthetically pleasing drawing. No.
Right.
I mean, we can get it done. We've actually used them for presentational purposes.
Oh, I'm sure it can be done.
Like for county jobs, but you're looking at multiple thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Well, that's just it. We're already over budget.
I was going to guess $2,000. Yeah.
At the least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's
Minimum.
It's just the starting point. Because
Just to get a net architectural drawing
Well,
to
just
do a
again,
tiny
it's-
little
it's-
project is
and-
$2
and-
grand.
But these things are extremely good. I mean, they are extremely good quality.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're not artist renderings, they're computer renderings, but they are incredibly lifelike. They use aerial photographs, maps. I mean, with the stuff we've had done, I've been quite blown away about the quality of it.
We'll discuss it further to see if it's something I mean, I'm hearing some interest, but we'll discuss it further if it's something that we want to invest in and to what degree. I don't think we need, the simplest basic rendering that we can do at the least cost.
I'll get you options. I'll bring you back
I
options.
appreciate that.
One of the
problem.
things with the renderings, if you get a model made, a 3D model made, once you've got that done, you can start looking at it from
Right.
water, from top, and it's just a small amount for each additional image that you want. It's actually the main money goes into the creation of the 3D model, and then you can almost view it from anywhere, and any location, any direction.
Okay.
So,
I mean, I'm familiar with it. I have
Yeah.
a little background. We'll discuss it further with Joe and see if he gives me options, and we'll bring it back to see if there.
And these things are very common for major road and bridge projects.
Yeah.
Not so much for a small job like this, but certainly doable.
I'll be happy to get.
I think if we're going to be spending millions of dollars, we should at least get a sense of what it's going to look like.
Not a problem.
But it doesn't have to be a 3D rendering. It could just be a looking at the architectural drawings, and if we can figure, if we have an eye to figure that out.
Well,
He's gonna give options and we can follow up. I'm good with that.
Yes, of course.
Thank you. So 310 days, and I don't know, maybe it's a question for Dan, but that's 10 months or a little bit better. And that is a long time.
A very long time.
And so the inconvenience goes from being something that we need to do to people like, wow, when's this going to get finished? Pretty quickly. So my concern, well, I'm a money guy, so my concern is about the money. But then number two, just the length of time that the bridge will be closed.
That'll be my second question when I meet with the contractor, because I'm concerned with that too. And we believed, right, Dan, it would take like 4 months, like roughly would save about 4 months by not having one road open at a time. So we're going to use that, but not that we don't know how the contractor is going to answer that question. He has to do it in he said he would do it in 310 days. That's what they agreed to.
Right.
But that will be my second question.
I would note that the contract for services in Article 2 says 210 days.
Is it 210 days, Dan?
But the memo says 310 days.
Correct. There was a discrepancy in the selection criteria. It says 310 days, and that was the date that the contractors used to base their bid on. One of the points of feedback that we got on the first bid, we had 210 days in the first bid, and the contractor that bid the job came back and said that he padded his price to equal what our liquidated damage cost was in the contract, because he knew he could not do 210 days.
Yeah, it's 310 days, but that'll be, like I said, my second question when I meet with the contractor.
Okay. And then are we planning the light situation? We planning to take that money from the CRA?
We can't. It's unfortunately, this bridge is not in the CRA.
CRA.
Wish it was. But we can talk about those lights. I definitely want to put lights on that bridge like every other bridge. That's why we put the infrastructure in for lights. But we were just trying to get this price down as much as possible.
Yeah. So we've got $500,000, we got 1.5 million in reserves, so we got $2 million, and it's going to take $1 million coming from reserves to pay for the bridge to get the project moving. When are we estimating, we spend this money today, we approve this, when are they supposed to start? And, let's assume worst case scenario, 10 months. When is that going to take place? And then in correlation with Palm Beach County, I know they're still, in different phases on Florida Mango.
They're not doing anything in the near future.
Okay, so we've got a 10-month window on that.
We believe, we'll check again, but we believe we have a good window.
Okay, and then just a follow-up thought per our conversation, Joe, we could essentially move money from the utility fund. The state gives us up to 10%, and currently we're at 4 or 5.
Well, there was a proposal for the 10% and never passed.
Right.
So
Okay.
it could be anything right now. So we can definitely talk about that. I was planning on talking about that.
Okay.
Not for this specific thing, anyway, just in general, we only transfer 4.5% roughly.
Okay.
And what I'm surveying is a lot of communities are doing more than that, transferring over. So I was going to definitely bring that up during budget.
Okay, all right, great. So we could essentially move some of that money, if we were to increase that over into the reserves to help replace that $1 million piece, essentially, at some capacity.
If that's the council's wishes, yes.
Okay. Well, that's really, Mr. Mayor, all the question I have, but just some clarity on some different things. Thank you.
Oh, I have a quick question. Once we approve this, how long before the construction actually starts? How complicated are the permits, et cetera?
Well, all the permits exist, don't they, Dan? I think, Dan, is that correct? All the permits are in hand?
Correct.
I missed that.
The permits are all in hand.
Have
Okay.
the decision on how quickly it can start will have to be a conversation between the manager and the contractor, because a lot of this work is going to be prefabricated off-site. So how long it takes those materials to become available will affect when the contractor actually shows up on site.
That's my third question.
So they could obviously be prefabricating before they demo.
Yes.
They could.
Yeah, they can stage before the demo. They can do a lot of things before the demo.
So will that reduce the amount of time bridge is closed?
Yes.
The money that we potentially would get from appropriations, was it based on this contract? Like when you went?
Yes.
This, yes.
Yes. Appropriations do expire if you don't.
So I was going to ask you to elaborate on that. Because
Yeah,
it's
if you
important for
don't
everyone
use
up
them,
here
you
to know.
lose them. So it's not, that 600,000 will go away eventually. I don't know the date, Dan, but usually
June
you
of
have.
25.
I'm sorry?
Sorry, Joe, June of 25.
June of 25. That will go away. So they don't last long. You have to construct the project that's been approved.
Anybody have any other questions?
Yes, sir.
Good. Yeah, I'll get to you guys. I'll get to you guys. Everybody's good?
Yes, thank you.
Yep, good. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Simon.
Thank you.
We're gonna have some audience time comments. Come on up, Tim. Bill, you'll be next.
So we got a 45, Tim Daughtry, 1410 Keller Road. Okay. Talking about a 45-foot bridge. Okay. We're talking about spending $50,000 per foot to build this bridge. Okay. I've been back and forth looking at this project. Okay. My brother built a bridge very similar to this up in Vermont within the last 18 months. And the costs we're looking at to do this project, for lack of a better word, is insane. Okay. Every time we go and we add up the cost, my brother and I, we're coming up with an outside number with everything falling apart at 1.7 million at best. Okay. That's what we're coming up with. But we're looking at this as one project. Okay. We have infrastructure issues throughout our community. This isn't the only bridge. We have several other bridges in town. We have roads that are in disrepair. We have sanitary sewers we've never even addressed as of yet, which we will be addressing next month. We have storm sewers. I've never seen us do anything about jetting our sewers or cammering our storm sewers. Water lines. We're talking about asbestos pipe that is our water mains in this town, okay, which are end of useful life. Okay, so all this stuff is end of useful life, end of useful life, end of useful life, end of useful life. This is just one project. But are we going to come back piecemeal to each of us and say, well, we're going to spend this on this, and we're going to spend this on this, and we're going to spend this on this, okay? We need to pull back and come up with a good budgetary figure of how much all these projects are going to cost us. And we're talking a huge sum of money, okay? The sewer project. It originally came in at $20 million. And you've seen how this project has jumped up in cost in the short period of time we've been bidding this out. I would suggest that sewer project at a bare minimum is a $40 million project, okay? Where is all of this money going to come from, okay? This is just not one item, okay? This is all these items. We need to pull back and look at these as a total budget figure and a total financing package to somehow pay for all of this stuff, okay? We can't keep coming back to our citizens time and again. We're gonna take $1 million out of the reserve fund, okay? Well, what about all these other things that we have to do, okay? there's no money for it, okay? We got to work up with a good financing program. Joe obviously has a huge background in that. And we need to pull back and look at this as a totality of all of our infrastructure issues, not just one thing, because we have all these issues to deal with, okay? And we're talking about 300 days, okay? Well, guess what? That track is going right by my front door, okay? It's going by right by my front door. None of you are on Keller Road. I'm on Keller Road, okay? This is going to go by my front door, okay? And I will suggest that since we're going to talk about this again, but since we pulled the gates down, I've looked and traffic has not increased, speeding has not increased, but we need to do traffic calming measures before this project starts.
Let's stay on the bridge, Tim. We'll talk about the
This
Keller
is
gates.
part of the bridge.
Okay, hold on. Dan, can you please explain what and how the time frame works for functionally obsolete? Simon, you use that word also? Bridge is functionally obsolete. So help us understand and teach us what that it means to us in terms of timing.
Well, functionally obsolete, as Simon said earlier, simply means that the geometry of the bridge does not meet any current code. So the lanes are too narrow, there's no sidewalks, the safety associated with the guardrail on the side, it's not appropriate for impact of current automobiles, nor is it high enough to protect pedestrians. So the functionally obsolete statement says that we have a number of challenges with geometry. The other part of this bridge consideration is sufficiency rating. And the sufficiency rating on this bridge is 66. At 60, DOT requires that something be done. I can't tell you, nor do I believe Simon or any of the engineers can tell you when that bridge will get to 60. It could be 5 years, it could be maybe we get 10 more years out of it. At that point in time, something has to be done.
10 years costs increase even more, correct?
Sure.
Okay. All right.
Without the other income monies that we currently have. Other
Dan,
people's money.
you might also mention that the other 4 bridges in town have a higher sufficiency rating as well.
Okay. So they're not in the same condition or position that the Pine Tree Bridge is in.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. So that's good information to have also. Because if you have the bridge for, it's 5 years, it's 10 years, they could come in when it's to 60 and say, guess what? You got to do this, this and that. Then some of those dollars that we already have gotten are gone. And then the costs just keep going up, up, up and up. Correct?
That is a correct statement.
Per it being defined as functionally obsolete, that happened over a decade ago, is that correct? President?
Well, that's where the town of Lake Clark Shores has been going. Unfortunately, Mr. Clark inherited a lot of that stuff. There has been, let me think of the words he would use. There's just been a lot of deferred maintenance in Lake Clark Shores for this very reason that the costs are a concern with everything, of course, but there's a lot of deferred maintenance. Mr. Clark came in and was just straddled with deferred maintenance during their entire time. And we know that. And yeah, Tim is right. There's all these other projects that are going to have to be addressed by not just this council, but councils down the road, a variety of things. You can't play the game, and you were in Tallahassee, we're playing the game. You have to adhere, you have to do what they tell you to do. So the bridge is in trouble. It's the main one that's in trouble. So you have to figure out the best way to pay for it. And how long ago did they come to us, Dan, with that? Been a few years, hasn't it?
With what?
The bridge is functionally obsolete. 3 or 4 years ago?
The state does bridge assessment studies every other year. And We've had this well over a decade that this has been functionally obsolete.
This is our oldest bridge, and it's old, it's over 70 years old.
Okay, Tim, I'm going to let Bill talk. Thank you. We'll get
Okay,
back to you.
So
We'll get-
I'm saying, look at it as a
We-
totality.
I agree.
And look at a financing mechanism so we can go down the road and handle all these projects.
Well, part of this financing mechanism was money from the state through appropriations, which we have to use or lose. So that's another factor to consider.
I'm saying pull back a little.
Well, we can't pull back on a bridge that's been 10 years in the works. Yes, sir,
William
Mr. Murphy.
1841 Evergreen Drive. Maybe the drawings that we have today will show everybody that's interested in seeing what the bridge looks like instead of going out and spend thousands of dollars.
I agree.
For a colored drawing.
Well, I can comment on that. If you see those drawings, they're appealing to Dan and Keith because they're engineers and Simon, but they're not artistic drawings that they're asking for. You really don't see what it's going to look like. So I understand where you're coming from, and I'll get some prices. Unfortunately, these things. I'm dating myself, but these things were 500 to 1,000, and everything's got so expensive. But I agree, it's probably at least $2,000. But I'll get you options. But no, the plans that are in there, that they're not architecturally friendly, to say the least.
I've seen them and they're not.
No, I agree with you.
Structural
They're very
They're
engineered.
for the construction types.
They're
They-
construction drawings.
perspective, but it's not going to help everybody
No,
understand. what they look
I understand displaying something out in the lobby that.
And for
what
the
it's gonna-
three engineers, as you said, it doesn't meet code. There are codes that you have to go by for the bridge, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Standards.
Yes,
Instead of codes, standards.
but
Yes.
safety and all that, yes.
Okay, do we have any other questions, or the drawing is one of the major concerns
Yes, sir.
right now?
Tony's got a question. Tony.
Yes, Ashok, come on up.
Shock.
Good evening. My name is Ashok Kulkarni, 8131 Westlake Drive. You have been discussing this bridge as an architect and city planner. For the audience, there should be either a drawing or something. Drawing should be shown on the screen so we will know exactly what you are discussing. You mentioned about rendering and all that. That should follow. But right now, when you just distribute this, there should be something, a drawing sketch, what engineer has should be there. Otherwise, we are just sitting there and listening to that is not a good idea,
Mhm.
Drawing is very important to know, and especially so expensive thing what we are discussing. At least to begin with, we ought to know what we are talking and where we are going to go.
Joe's gonna
That's
work
all
on it.
I'm-
Joe will work on that.
Yes.
Okay?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else before we move on to the next subject?
Well, we want a motion if we'd like to get a motion.
Motion is the next subject.
Yes.
We're gonna get to that.
Of some kind of motion.
Well, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes, of course.
I'd like to make a motion on the approval of moving the money with the condition that we receive the $250,000 from the state and that there is a drawing available for everyone to be able to view the bridge. Based on those two conditions, I'd like to make a motion on the approval as stated.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? No, carries 5-0.
So
Okay.
is that okay? That
Yes.
they awarded it? Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Dan, it's very good to see you. Keith, always good to see you, sir. I hope you feel better.
Feel better, Keith.
Dan,
Thank
please-
you. Yeah. Yeah.
Again.
I'm winding down a little bit right now. So bedtime for me, I think.
Okay.
Take care.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thanks,
Keith.
Keith.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Simon.
you.
Take care. Good seeing you.
Bye.
I wish I had his accent.
Okay. Now, the next order of new business is discussion regarding future septic to sewer informational meeting.
Okay.
Joe?
Obviously, this was asked to put on the agenda from the council. Obviously, staff's looking for direction on when we'd like to do this and what format. If you'd like, I could give you options of different kinds of formats now. If you'd like that, okay. So obviously, it's an informational meeting, which is, for me, it's information and educational. So the first thing an option would be to just bring people here at a regular meeting, have a presentation, and then take questions and answers. If I may, I'll say what I think some of the negatives are. Negatives to that is there's no really good permanent record, and it's hard to get all the people in one room in a venue that'll be productive. As I stated in my memo back in 2005, it was really not a productive meeting to have it in a big venue. I believe it was at a church, and they had 200 people there, and it was not a constructive meeting. So the next option is to have a workshop, like a charrette or some kind of workshop. Again, one of the big negatives of that is not really a good permanent record, it's not really going to be conducive to a good discussion of getting the education out. Last, there's a thing called an open house, and these things do work. Open houses are flexible, so you do them like a 3-hour period. It could even be multiple days. Usually it's one day, and you do a 3-4 hour period where you have different tables set up in a big venue, and people can visit those different tables. There'll be a table on the economics, on the environment, on what's the construction going to look like, what the phases are, and that has some merit. So you can do that. The TPA, which is the Transportation Planning Association, whatever. It's authority. Thank you. They do a lot of open houses, so you can do that. But again, not a great record, because what we're recommending as staff is a virtual meeting where there's a panelist. They're going to discuss different aspects, and then they will take questions that are predetermined and pre-asked from the council, the staff, and from the residents, and they can research those questions. It will be permanent. We can put it on YouTube, so people can look at it at different times of the year and look at it and see, oh, I had a question on why we're doing this and what's the benefits of septic, or what's the benefits of sewer, a sanitary sewer system. They can look at this YouTube video and they can answer how it's Lake Clark centric. So that's our recommendation. Is we discuss it every week, basically at our staff meetings, and we like the virtual meeting. Does that make any sense?
I'm totally in agreement that all questions should be submitted ahead of time, and asked by a moderator.
Yeah.
And every question should be considered a legitimate question. It should not be a give and take between the presenters and the audience. But I think the community aspect of it would be beneficial for everybody to be in person, like at a church, as long as it's not open to public comment like these meetings are. I think it will not get unruly.
It's your preference. We're just trying to facilitate an educational meeting.
Suggestion might be a hybrid. I think the virtual, doing a YouTube and getting the information out there, and let it stay out for a period of time. Let the residents look at, view it, and if they have any questions, and have some kind of open forum, whether it's a church, whether it's here or something else. But they'll have time to digest the whole process.
An after meeting.
Yeah,
Yes.
and then I
Okay.
think you had mentioned that there's a suggested time frame to wait because we're in the process of possibly getting some grants.
Yes, what I mentioned last time at last meeting, we have a grant application pending, and we should know this summer for phase 2, which is obviously phase 1 was the commercial district on Forest Hill, which is complete and paid for. Phase 2 is Micah West, and that would be that's already permitted, shovel ready. And that's why we're out for a grant, roughly $3.5 million grant for that phase. And then phase 3 to 5, which is Micah East and Pine Tree Lane, is basically still in the design stage.
Forgive my ignorance.
Mhm.
Do we have a definition of shovel ready, or at least a
Yes.
basic understanding of what?
Yeah, shovel ready, and people use different definitions, but I'll tell you what the real definition is. It's ready to go when it's permitted. People believe when you just have plans, it's shovel ready, but that's not true. It has to go through all the agencies to be permitted, and that's shovel ready. That means it's ready to go. It just needs money and a contractor.
Thank you.
Sure.
I do think it's very important for us to have the information on that grant being awarded or not, so that we can be presenting all of the information. So many of the questions that have come to me are, if we get this money, it'd be nice to know, and then inform the residents from that point forward.
Now, I know you discussed with me, I don't know if you want to elaborate about if that grant money comes, I don't know if we want to put the cart before the horse, what that would mean to the residents and how it would offset their costs for the system. Or is that something we want to hold back until we have that information?
We don't hold back on anything. We
I mean,
can explain anything.
person-
It's just all variables. I mean, as you said, if the project's 25,000 per household, if we get the grant, it's only 12.5%. That's 12,500. So, and you divide that over 15 years, it's less than 1,000 a year, but it's 2,000 a year if you don't get the grant. And we already have that low interest loan, so we don't really have to charge people a lot of interest.
So basically it would offset them by 50% and spread it out over a period of time.
Right.
And I think you mentioned to me that you could sell that with your house. You don't have to.
Yes.
pay off when you sell
Special.
your house.
Thank you for that point. Special assessments go with the land, so you actually don't have to satisfy them when you sell the property.
Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes, of course.
Thank you. So I do a lot of teaching in my everyday life. It's not involved around the council. And what I've found is that the more people are educated, the more they understand for themselves, the better informed decision that they can make. And so while I think a virtual meeting is initially the best, and it doesn't mean that we can't have an in-person second follow-up meeting but I think there's been a lot of misinformation, a lot of stuff going on. And I like the opportunity, first and foremost, whether we get money or not get money. I think this issue that's in front of the town has been there for a very long time, and it will continue to be there until something is done one way or the other. So I think that educating the residents and allowing them to be able to voice a lot of the questions will essentially vet out a lot of the conversations that go on behind closed doors that may not actually be all of it be true. I'm sure there's some truth to it, but this is an opportunity for residents to come and voice serious concerns, get some answers from some professionals, allow this virtual setting so people can feel like they're being heard, and then we can do a follow-up. Now, will this virtual meeting affect whether or not we get the money? No. But will the residents be better educated? Absolutely. Will that follow-up second meeting be a little bit different if we've got that money, we've got the go ahead and the facts change a bit? Yeah, absolutely. But at least the fundamental basics of planning the sewer to septic conversion, the residents will have all the information. So the charrette really is just that, it's educational. Whether it's not approving, yes, we're gonna do septic and sewer, it's not saying, no, we're not gonna do it. It's simply allowing residents to ask their questions and get answers in a virtual setting. That's it. Nothing more than that, and giving the residents the power to get educated around this deal. So what I'm proposing is simply this, that we have a charrette in May. We allow this virtual setting, allow people 30 days or maybe June to present their questions to the town. We have a moderator, we get all those questions answered. We have some professionals. And then we do a follow-up, more of a kind of a forum where we're all together and allowing people to come, and if they have more questions, but at least the fundamental piece of these, they will have gotten answers and they can revert back to before our next follow-up meeting. That does not, again, imply that we're saying, yes, we're doing sewers. It doesn't imply we're saying no, but it is implying that we're going to educate and do that at the very, very utmost of our abilities, educate every resident and give them an opportunity to be heard. So, my recommendation, my concern is that the information that was presented out there, some of it has gotten distorted. And so really kind of to clear the airways and get some truth on the top of the subject is really what I'm aiming to do. So that's why I'm recommending a virtual setting for that first deal. Not to say that we can't have a second one. I'd love a second one, more of an open forum where everyone's together, but give us an opportunity to get some education around the septic to sewer conversion. And obviously costs are important. So, and those costs could change based on that grant, but it doesn't mean that second meeting, we can't address that and update that information with the residents so they have accurate numbers.
So I have just 2 comments on that, because I think all of that is great, but the number one thing that residents have come to me with is the financial side of it and the money. And if we can't answer that question, because even bringing up the grant in one of the last conversations, well, I've heard about getting this. Is this going to happen? If we have that piece of information, aren't we doing a more effective job of educating them on this topic, since that seems to be the primary concern? That's my first comment, is we've kind of waited this long. Why not have all the information potentially, even if it means doing it in July versus May? Second is May enough time to get the people that we need together? This is a question for you, Joe, because we want to bring in experts in their field to educate the residents and us. Is that enough time to do that?
It's very tight, but if whatever you tell me to do, we will do. I take your direction.
So let me answer your first question. First off, the money is very important, but I've had some people concerned about the lake and not the money, and they want to move forward regardless because it takes care of the lake. Second
The
thing
environmental
is,
concerns.
right, and the second thing is what we don't know for sure is the total cost of the project. So whether we get the money or not, we don't know the total cost of the project. We're saying 40, we're saying 30, we're saying 50, we're saying 60, we're saying 20. No one really actually knows. So whether we get the grant money or not, it doesn't necessarily pigeonhole anyone because we don't know the actual cost of the project for sure. Like we would know the grant money we get is going to be $5 million. Okay, great. Whatever that number is, hypothetically, whatever that number, we would know that number for sure. What we don't know is the cost of this construction project. We don't know for sure that number. We're all hypothetically guessing. If we've learned anything from the Pine Tree Bridge, we say 1.3 million, they say 3.3 million. So we know that it could potentially be more. So irregardless of the cost, while we'll give them the numbers of the grant, and we can even mention the grant that we're applying for as part of that education. But I think people are like, hey man, what about the lake? Is the 702 homes that we fix up, is that going to really improve the lake? Or what improvements are we going to see on the surface water? Or, how is my septic sewer? How should I maintain it? Am I doing a good job? Like there's a lot of other questions beyond just the money, which is critically important and for sure the most important part. But there's a lot of other things that we can educate in addition to the money around that project.
Joe, we do have the grant amount.
Yeah.
Potentially. What is that amount?
I believe it's roughly $7 million. We're asking for a 50% grant of 3.5 for Michael West.
Okay. And so I guess if we were educating them around the grant dollars, there could be like an A or B based on get money, don't get money.
Yeah. I look at it a little differently if I can answer, if I can expand on that. I look at it as, is it grant eligible? That's an important thing for me. So this is an important thing in front of the DEP, which is Department of Environmental Protection, because they have money and they are giving it out. But if they deny us, that means that's a sign that we might not be grant eligible. But if they do grant phase 2, then it's telling me as staff, we may be grant eligible for the rest of the phases.
Joe, if I may, how do you become grant eligible? Just to be clear.
Because they already done it. It has history of giving money to the town on one of the phases. So that's how I'm looking at it. Yes, there's always going to be variables because you don't know what the actual cost is until you go out to bid. I mean, John's 100% right. But I'm looking at it, are we going to get any money at all? So if we get this grant, to me, that there's no guarantee that they'll get money for phase 3 and 4 and 5, but at least we'll see that they are giving money out for grants. And phase 2 can live by itself. It's not connected to phase 3 and 4 and 5. It's a gravity system that's self-contained. Sure.
Now, we also elaborated on the storm drainage system. Our drainage system right now is not properly done. And is that going to be incorporated in the septic and sewer aspect of it?
That would be one of your questions to ask, because I know they've talked about sidewalks, they've talked about changing the water pipes that are in there, the force mains, all of those. Once you dig up a road like that, a vacuum system is not as destructive, but when you go to a gravity system, which is phase 2, it's very intense construction. right, John? So you want to replace everything that's in the infrastructure. So I would recommend that. Yeah, yes.
It absolutely makes sense.
Yeah, you do the swales, you do the drainage, you do everything properly.
That's also going to help with the, you know,
Mm-hmm.
contamination of the lake.
It's not only, it's not one thing, right? It's all, yes.
Thank you.
Should have an overall plan.
So then my thoughts would be we're going to be doing this. I think we owe that to the residents at this point. I feel very strongly about it being virtually hosted so that everybody can submit questions. Of course, we wouldn't omit those questions, but in that aspect, it's also the most easily distributable, so we can share it with the most amount of people possible. It's a great record, as you have said, and we don't have to worry about somebody being unruly or not. It just eliminates that factor and really makes it about the information. So that would be my one comment.
Thank you. And it's one thing I forgot. Sometimes it's difficult to get a high representative from DEP. They might be in Tallahassee, but virtually they could be anywhere. So that's a
And we have met with a high representative in Tallahassee from the DEP regarding this issue. And Taylor, I do agree with you. If we're going to educate people, we should have as much possible information that we can have. And John, you're right. We don't know the cost. And I've been hearing numbers all over the place. And I say to them, where do you get those numbers from? How do you know that? Because I don't know that. And I've been meeting with these people in Tallahassee for years and years. I think that, first of all, we owe it to the residents to get as much free money as we can. And it's out there. And it's not just a septic to sewer conversion, stormwater, regular water. There's other things that we could then possibly do, in my opinion, to help them help us. As I've said before, if you look at the stormwater that runs off of I-95, look at the stormwater that runs off of Southern Boulevard, all of these different things that once we've met some of our obligations, that we can then say, hey, we need you folks here to help us with this. Because I've been talking about dredging a lake for years and years and years. It's been prohibitive financially. That's why when we did these tax rollbacks, it's a very sticky wicket because we need money here, period. You just need money to keep up with the times and the rate of inflation and the way things go. And the numbers are always going to change. In any construction game, the numbers change constantly. It's a constant flux of change. So the more information we have, the better it's going to come across. There's the other factor of this is there's only 702 homes that are part of this. That's it. 702 homes. There's other homes within here that already have it, that are not part of it. There's how many homes there for the Palm Springs that are right here on Westlake?
There's a lot of homes on Palm
92,
Springs.
52, something that I can't even remember the numbers. They're not affected by it. They are going to, we already know that Palm Springs has something in work. They've asked for $1 million for help on a conversion along Congress Avenue. I think it's either from Summit to Southern Boulevard or possibly a little bit before that. I think when they put in the car place there off lease only, to get those restaurants, you have to have sewers.
Correct.
Which is why the businesses paid for the sewer along Forest Hill Boulevard. They paid for all of that. And I do, in my heart, believe that if the residents, the 702 of them, were going to get it for free, they'd take it tomorrow.
Absolutely.
That will never happen. That just won't happen. It won't. So the more information we have for charrette, I'm all for that. I believe virtual is the best way also, because the last time it was, and I was reading through the minutes, and you're always going to have the people who are professionals that this is what they do. And people say, I don't believe you. I don't believe that. So, and I just read it in 2 of our minutes. I read the minutes every time. I go back and I look at the minutes, see who said what, who has this to add in. But the more information we have, the better off we are. Now, Bridget, let me ask you a question, because I think before, when I met with you, we talked, I met you with Dan in the park one time,
When I first moved.
long time ago. You were out walking your dog and we were looking at, and a lot of people don't know this, but in that little area of the park, there's this infrastructure underneath the grass. It's like a metal grate that allows the cars to park on it and it doesn't ruin the grass. You have been through a conversion in Dade County? Did you tell me that at one time? Did I hear that? Or
Conversion for what?
From septic to sewer?
No, not me. I have not been.
No, it wasn't you?
No.
Okay, all right. I didn't know.
I've been on sewer my whole life. I'm new to septic.
Right, okay. My entire adult life, being out of my parents' home, I've been on septic. So, and I'm not even due for a new one or anything like that. I just feel that I agree with Taylor. The more information we have, especially regarding dollars, the better off we're gonna be, and the more prepared the council's gonna look. I just feel like that, if we aren't prepared, that's gonna come back on us too. And, to be prepared is your best bet as a teacher. You plan, you work, you plan.
Absolutely.
And, so that's my 2 cents in there. So I don't see where from May to June or July, when will that information come out to us that we did receive that?
The state really never gives you a date.
We know it's sometime in July.
It's usually, I always call it the summer months. So it could be anywhere from May to August usually.
And July is the beginning of the budget.
Right. So their budget goes June 1st to July.
July 1st.
July 1st to June 30th. Yes, thank you.
So, and there was talk back in '05 of putting in sidewalks. The question then becomes, who wants a sidewalk on their side?
I'll give up 3 feet to have a sidewalk.
Well, you don't own that property,
But
first of
Pine
all,
Tree
the
Lane is
town
so
owns it.
difficult to
and-
walk
But
your dog.
some people want it, some people don't. That was the argument then. This is in '05. This was part of, people's rationale. And I, I live on a cul-de-sac, so the only traffic I get is people who live there or people around the neighborhood that are walking their dogs. So I agree with Taylor regarding that, and the virtual is probably the best way to go and could be followed up after they have more information with more discussion at council. We don't even know if one of the churches around here will let us use their facility. I know Father Peter was there. Was Father Peter there? Ashok, you were part of that. Was Father Peter there at that time? He was?
He was not.
No?
I was there.
Oh, I know.
I can tell you, I had 5 police officers. and
Wow.
Yeah. It was unruly?
Yeah, virtual
It
sounds
was
good.
unruly. They were telling the engineers to shut up. It was terrible. It was
Disrespectful.
embarrassing. And then one person picked up a chair
Yeah,
and I thought we're going to have to arrest him. But that's how it was back then.
sure. So that's just all.
And those make it on YouTube in
food
a
for
different
thought.
way.
What's that?
And those films make it on YouTube in a different way.
I think the hybrid idea is a good to get the virtual out there, then a follow-up. I think maybe possibly rather than go to a big venue like that, have multiple meetings here because not everybody can make every day.
Yeah.
And that way they let that video digest and people will have their questions. And by the time we get, they'll have more questions. They come to the first meeting and they go, well, I didn't get that, so I'll go to the second meeting or third meeting. And then some people who didn't make any, they'll have opportunity to go to more than one meeting. And then we'll see if we need to do any more after the, Q&A from the residents and then make a decision from there. But I think the virtual is 100% way to get the ball rolling.
And this is one of the things that we do as council members up here. We procure relationships within the communities. That takes a lot of work, a lot of time. And it's through these relationships that doors will open for you. Sometimes they may close too, but most of the time they're opening. Lake Clark Shore's reputation before was they always had their hand out. The chief came in, you changed that. You did change that. How long you been here now? About 18, 19 years, 20 years?
I got 22 years, but.
Who's counting? Come on.
Yeah, who's got
Our infrastructure as far as on emergency management, and one thing good about Joe being a manager, and Dan was good at this, but Joe's got 35 years, so it's good communication. And we had to borrow fuel. We had trouble getting water, just different things, but things are a lot.
That's
better
changed.
now. Our infrastructure with their equipment and vehicles.
And that was all part of that deferred maintenance that had not been present. So I'm just saying, the more information we have as a council, the more effective we're going to be and the more prepared we're going to look.
Can we say that we would host it but when we receive the information about the grant, or at the latest by, August, and give a date?
Sure. It's whatever you.
So that
give
there
me
is an
whatever
actual
direction-
date, so it's not just like
Mhm.
perpetually, you know,
Yeah.
postponed or put off.
Whatever
So we
direction
feel
you
like we
give
can
me.
notice something.
No, I don't
That's
think
fine.
we can continue to put this off. This has been going on. I have my other feelings that I'm not going to elaborate on because I don't know that they're true. But I've attended meetings after meetings after meetings with the top brass, with all these different things, and I don't know what they're thinking. That's what scares me.
Hmm.
I don't know exactly what they're thinking. And they could come through at any time and what, there's a variety of different ways that this all occurs. Even just to get a septic tank, that could change too. Getting a septic tank, being on the water versus the homes that aren't on the water, all these different things. I think then Joe would have time to do a cost analysis between the actual life of a septic tank versus the sewer. I know that there was legislation put in there by one of the delegates from Palm Beach County to have a 5-year inspection of septic tanks and the drain fields more importantly. Septic tank isn't as important as the drain field. The drain field is what has to function properly. And if they're not, you need to know that too, but that didn't pass. They didn't even want that every 5 years because I can relate. Everybody says we're on a fixed income. Well, I'm wanting to retire and I'm on a fixed income too. And I'm trying to figure out how do we do all this because I don't want to leave here. But I also know that it's something that has to be addressed. I'd like to actually be able to say that we could dredge the lake too. That would be huge. It would be monumental.
Mr. Mayor, I've been making a lot of calls to engineers, environmentalists, academics, all sorts of people to educate myself and to find people to speak at the charrette. And one of the engineers that I spoke to said that we would get as much value out of dredging as we would out of converting to sewer. And that's how important he thought dredging was.
Yeah, it's important.
Dredging's huge.
The biomass that's on the bottom of this lake is unbelievable. It's funny because I have a daughter who is, she is reluctant to let her daughters come there because I don't have a fence around the lake and everything. And I tell her, if they fall in, they can stand up. What's going to scare them even more is when they touch the bottom. That's what's going to scare them. So I agree. The dredging is huge. It's also very expensive.
Yes.
Very expensive. And I think that there's dollars available from the state for that also down the line somewhere. When they were building the bridge on I-95 and the train trusses there, they were actually taking some of that spoil and putting it right there at the City of West Palm Beach Country Club and using it there. Some people have said use it as fertilizer. I don't know enough about it because I'm one of those things. You have to take, step by step, small, steady steps. And it begins with this and moves on to this, this, and that. Because I think the state and the feds have a role in this from all of the, the stormwater that comes off of the highways. It's huge. It's big. If you've ever been there and seen it, I'm amazed at some of this stuff. I've been caught in a rainstorm here and there, and just even you can see the oil and the gas just coming right out of the drainage pipes right into the water. And that flows right down into here and it settles in there. So where do we go from here, Mr. Lobello? Do we need a motion?
I think I heard consensus virtual, right? I think,
Yes.
so I heard a consensus on that. So I think I'm okay with the format. So I got enough direction. So it's just timing. I don't think I heard a consensus on timing.
How long would it take you to put something together?
At least 2 months, because, you want to put out a question for the residents for a month, right? And I have to get the panel together. I'm sorry?
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
if we don't get the 3.5 million from the state, do we not have the charrette?
No.
No,
I
yeah.
would think that you would still want to have it, but that's an important factor. In my
Right.
opinion, Joe's going to know better than myself, but I think that all of the information, when you're talking to the 702, I've been out and talked to a lot of you folks, and I'm not afraid to ask you, what are you for it or are you against it? Tell me what you're thinking.
Right.
If I don't know, I don't know. If you're whatever, we need to know what everybody's thinking. There's 702 homes that
Right.
this will affect. So we need to know, and that was an unknown back then. They didn't even, that wasn't discovered until Dan Clark came along, that was really not sufficient, that only these 702 homes were really the ones that it was going to affect. And even I didn't know that until Dan researched all this sort of stuff. So I just feel like, we're going to vote on this. So I feel like the more information we have, the more we know what we're looking at financially, and we can come to the table with that, the better off we are.
We do a lot of charrettes through the Historical Society, and our motto is always the most amount of information possible that we can provide, because you might only get those people's attention one time. You want to present them with the most amount of information. We're making the assumption they can come back for a second or a third opportunity.
Right.
We're going to put a lot of effort into noticing this to the residents as well, right? To make sure that we get a lot of participation.
Yes.
So my question is, why can we say, as part of the education process, that the town is in the process or inquiring for $3.5 million from the state to offset the cost of the sewer conversion? Because again, we don't know the final cost, but we do know that if we get the 3.5 million, it will help offset some of the cost that's going to be encumbered by the residents. So I'm not sure where the drop ball of information happens, because if we can tell them that either, yes, we got it, or we don't got it, we still don't know the final cost.
I agree with that.
It's going to cost.
I just think it's hard for people to live in the world of if, what if.
And that grant's only for phase 2, correct?
And it's only for phase 2. So I don't know why we couldn't say for phase 2, we're working to acquire $3.5 million grant. We should know in the next month whether or not we're going to have that. Stay tuned for more information on that. Again, we don't know what the final cost of this is going to be. So it's not really going to change the overall cost, because we could say it's going to cost 40 million. We go out to bid and it costs 50. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
So
Yeah, it does, because back then we could have had it for 9, and now we're at wherever we're going to be. So
Wherever we're
that
gonna
does
be.
make a lot of sense.
So if we tell them in the presentation, maybe on the screen, we're actively looking for $3.5 million, we have a pretty high chance we're getting this for phase 2.
That creates a shadow of a doubt in my eyes, though. I'm not opposed to it. I'm just saying.
I wouldn't say we have a pretty good chance. Just, we don't know.
Oh, so we don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know.
So
I think we're
Again,
the 200.
I don't know if that changes. I mean, look, we can do this virtual deal, and I'm excited about the virtual meeting just to get the information out there. But my point is, I feel like, guys, by telling them we're applying for the 3.5 million, it doesn't really.
It's been applied for. We're not applying. It has been
applied for, but it doesn't, the residents really doesn't know how that's going to impact them. Meaning that, okay, there's a project that 3.5 million is going to help, and the project costs 10. So that's a big help. Or does the project cost 50 and the 3.5 million was kind of like, well, that was okay. Well, what
So
else?
I understand what you're saying.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. If we can present the options, my preference would be to know. I like giving people facts, like this is what it is. However, I think Joe's still saying for us to get the people that we need, we're looking at 2 months, which is, I think, 2 weeks off of
Right,
May.
yeah.
So that's June, let's say 15th. In potentially, if we were to know by June 30th, like if we were to say by June 30th, we were going to host this charrette, is that a happy space for us to all live in?
And I would say then, if I'd rather say not do it during the summer, because most residents travel, they're on
But we're doing
vacation,
it
they're out of
virtually.
town.
We're doing it.
Oh, well, we're doing it virtually. So I guess that.
Yeah,
I guess that
Alleviates a
helps.
lot of that.
Okay, all right, well, good, yeah, that makes sense.
I do feel that by June 30th, we would know the grant. You don't think so?
Don't know.
Don't know.
Well, our next
Well, the
meeting,
budget cycle
our next
is then,
meeting
but-
in June is the 11th of June. So there's another piece of information. And the July meeting would be the 9th.
See, the DEP gets a pot of money, but that doesn't mean it has to coordinate with, they
With their
get so
budget.
much money, but they don't have to tell who gets the grants. You see what I'm saying? So it
Mhm.
doesn't have to match the budget time.
You can always put out the information that we applied for a grant that's going to
Mhm,
help
that's what John
offset the
said.
costs, but we don't know.
Right.
We ought to give them a number. because
I think-
We don't know what the cost of the project's going to be versus the cost of what we're going to.
We also don't know, we applied for 3.5 million, they may come back and give us 3.
Exactly. And they give you one.
Right. So a lot of variables. I think Joe's still saying that 2 months would be very helpful. So I think that puts us at June 15th.
That's for the virtual.
That's for the virtual,
Mhm.
right?
I'm-
Yeah.
If that's enough time for you to put the virtual together,
It is. I just don't know if we'll have the answer on the funding for the grant.
okay, we can cross that bridge and get down.
Hold on, the meeting in June is June,
3rd.
that's a Monday?
Yeah. How do you know that? That's pretty good.
Yeah, why are we doing that?
Staff has
Oh,
issues.
Staff has a problem? Okay.
Yeah, we have a lot of issues that.
Okay,
So that's why I put tentative. We'll discuss that.
okay, all right.
But you can just pick it. This is not a council meeting, so.
Right, we can pick any date,
You
right?
can pick any date, right.
Well, I'm talking in order to have your 2 months to get your
Experts.
people in place.
Right. But it doesn't have to coincide with the council meeting. That's what I'm saying.
So would you be looking basically at the week of June 10th, that 10, 11, 12, 13?
Are these people going to charge for this?
Yeah, the middle of June is bad.
Okay.
No, well, I don't know that. The people I've asked, they're not going to charge.
Okay, all right.
I have.
Just curious.
Well,
So you're saying
one is going to charge. He's
The
our,
middle of June is bad, when would be a better time, since that's when more or less 60 days falls?
early July. July is better for me.
So after 4th of July?
Yeah. The week after 4th of July is fine.
I am okay with that. I think it also gives us the opportunity. I don't want to put this off indefinitely. Obviously, we want to make sure we get all of the information. But we also want the people there that can give us the best information.
Do we have someone who wants to make a motion?
Mr. Mayor, we
Yes.
have, right here,
Yes.
we have some questions online. I don't
Oh,
know if you want
okay.
to take
Yes,
them.
absolutely.
Yes. So there's Victoria Prenzi. She wants to know when, what phase north of Forest still is in.
North of Forest Hill is not part of us. Not part of that.
It's
the county.
It's not our responsibility. It's the county.
So north of Forest Hill, that's another part of this picture, is that side of Forest Hill is not affected. There's a couple in there.
There's
along the water?
there's a lot of sewers
But I
already.
mean, are there some people there that are with the town of Lake Clark Shores water
Yeah,
on the north side, on the water?
yeah.
But most of that is on the county, isn't it?
We buy the water from the county in bulk, but they're our customers.
Okay, but not the entire north side.
No,
Okay,
it's confusing.
okay, so what's next?
Jennifer Chanowski would like to speak. You can go ahead, Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer Chanowski, 7130 Pine Tree Lane. I had a couple questions and a comment. First off, thanks so much, Christy Mosbach. She was mentioning how the experts she's gotten in contact with said the most important thing for the lake quality is the dredging. So I know like over the years, there's been a lot of question with why we're pursuing septic to sewer, because in years past, it was told to us that this was very important because the water quality in the Lake Clark was suffering, and that we were responsible parties in that. So I guess my first question is, why is there such a push? Like a very constant denominator here seems to be Michael West is important to do. Phases 3 through 5 are very important to do. In the past, it was told to us it was because of lake water quality. And it doesn't seem like that's really discussed that much anymore, but it's still a constant that we should be pursuing sewers and why that is. And then I did have another thought, but now I can't, it fleets me. I don't know. I did have one other comment, but I can't remember what it was.
Well, anything to do with the benefits on the environment, I'm going to let the engineers answer that question. That's why we're doing this workshop. If you ask me financially, I'll answer those questions, but obviously I have some beliefs that it would help the town financially. You're improving infrastructure, but you'll have more buildable space on your property. What I've seen in other communities when they do a septic to sewer, and I'm not saying it's 100%, but your values of your house go higher because there's people that don't like to buy properties that are on septic tanks. So I can talk about the financial part, but I'll never talk about the economics. I mean, the
environment.
The environment. Thank you, because that's
Yeah,
not.
just it seems like it's such a constant, like there's energy put into getting the septic to sewer, getting it permitted, getting this money. It's over $1 million, I think 1.3 million last time I checked, was like the money we've spent just trying to plan for and design this shovel-ready project. But it's never really like, you never hear all 5 council people up there like in agreement, whether it's the new ones now or like the ones that were previous, talking about the great reasons why we should be doing this. Like everyone sounds so undecided or not one way or the other, but then the constant is that you guys keep pushing and planning for sewer without really like any resident input. It's just, I'm confused by it, it's all.
I think that's because we were put on notice at one point in time.
No, there wasn't a notice to us. It was like the DEP wanting to study the lake because the lake, yeah, the lake quality wasn't good, but the DEP was going to study the lake. And then, you know, Lake Clark Shores took us out of that line of waiting for the study, put us in another category. And now they're just putting us back into line to wait for the study to actually, you know, verify what's going into the lake, like all the pollutants. It's like a whole nother conversation, I guess.
Well, those sound like good questions for the professionals, for sure.
Oh, and I remember my other thought, not to interrupt, was that someone mentioned tonight the Micah West estimate is like $7 million. And I can remember looking at cost estimates from like 2 years ago, and the estimate for the total cost of the project was 3.2 or 3.3 million. So I guess my question, that other question was going to be, I guess, did another cost estimate come out for Micah West and now it's like double what it once was?
I don't have the answer to that.
Yeah, that's
So-
why it's needed to get this type of.
I'm not meeting with the engineer on an everyday basis. You know, everything is pretty much stalled until you guys decide what has been done and what was approved. Many years ago, you guys went out to bid. The town went out to bid for the design of those 700 homes. You hired, it was a solicited bid. You hired an engineering firm and to do the design. So that was all at a public meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that comment, Jennifer. This is my first time actually having the opportunity to discuss this subject matter with my fellow council members. And I think the only thing we've put energy into this evening is making sure that we get all of the information for us and for the residents, and that we assign a date to making sure that that happens. And that we have professionals giving all of the information and are there to answer the questions you're bringing up, because we certainly cannot. So I think that's what we were finalizing. We were about to go into making a motion on actually getting this calendared, making sure that we're bringing the right people together and the format.
And I would like to make sure that we have people there that are pro and con, you know, on both sides of the issue.
There's plenty of those.
Well, my impression was that
I mean the experts for the charrette.
my impression was that this was a factual representation, not people lobbying for one side or the other. That they're going to give information about the environmental status of the lake, for example, and the cost of the project.
Different people have different opinions.
It shouldn't be an opinion-based charrette. There should be a factual.
We're going to try to make it as
representation.
factual as possible. Yeah.
It shouldn't be anyone's opinions of what's
Okay,
going on.
we have-
We're asking for engineers and experts. That's exactly
But
why.
different engineers have
more?
different
No.
opinions. I've been told.
Yes.
I understand it's gonna be the pros and cons of septic and sewer, based on all the experts that are gonna come here, so
Yes.
nobody's taking one side or the other.
Presenting the pros and cons,
Yeah,
yes.
Pros and cons of septic and.
Pros and cons of sewer.
And you'll have an opportunity, even as council members, to present those questions virtually through the charrette.
Yes.
I'm sure.
Oh, yes, we can participate.
Everybody has questions, I'm sure. I get both people that want it and people who don't want it. And a lot of the people who don't want it, their rationale is they don't want to pay for it. And I understand. So I think that that's where it needs to land. I think if we have a motion to decide when we want to put this on, somebody can present it now and we can vote on it and we'll move on.
Just before July 15th, and I think that gives us enough direction.
A motion to do the virtual prior to.
Yeah, a motion to put a charrette onto the
Virtual.
books, a virtual charrette on the book, so that we can then start to plan to get people in place, to get professionals with factual information, real information. And I'm sure we can even have some dollars and some cost analysis done to that as well.
On July 15th.
On the different phases?
on different phases.
Yeah.
It just goes in my thought process that if, all right, we haven't asked this question. How long will it take to start to finish, complete phase 2 at Micah West?
Just like the bridge as an example, it's not
unknown.
It's an unknown, but it's not a long process. I've done a lot of septic
it's
to
still
sewer
an unknown.
conversions. It's
By
not
the
more
time you
than,
go out to bid,
it's
you
not,
get all this stuff.
right.
So
It's
could the-
about a
my
year, it's a
question
year,
is gonna
it's a
be,
year.
the cost could change for phase 3.
Until you go out to bid, the cost can change, but we have a pretty, the engineers should have a good
And
estimate,
that's what I'm getting at.
but
They should have a pretty darn good
the
estimate.
bridge
for
is not a
this.
good example.
Well, the bridge isn't a good example because they came through, that's another story. But so,
Yes.
do you want to make a motion? to-
I believe that Councilmember Keating did. We
Yeah.
tried.
Talk into the microphone so we can hear you.
I started and then you added to it.
Okay, go ahead. Make your motion.
Motion to have a virtual charrette with all the factual presenters for, by July 15th.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
I will second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, carries 5-0.
Thank you, guys.
Now that's talking in the sunshine right there, ladies and gentlemen. Very good. That was good. Okay, now we're going to move on to the next item is discussion regarding the Keller Gates. Joe?
Well, I can give you the short version, which is our recommendation, or I can go the long version. But the short version is we get a lot of complaints, and we get people actually for the gates too. But we get complaints that don't like the gates. So what we would like is to shut them, take the arms off for 6 months, and to see what the feedback is and bring it back in October to see what you want to do on a more permanent basis. That's our recommendation.
Joe, do we have data on, is most of the outbound traffic, Lake Clark Shores residents leaving to go to work in the morning, and then the inbound traffic is them coming home at 5 or 6 o'clock? Or is there a lot of Lake Worth traffic coming through?
We can't, we know that we did give a number of cars, but we can't tell who's in the car.
But is it mostly like outbound at 8 in the morning and inbound at 5 at night, or is it, do we have a sense of that?
It's, I would believe it's just like normal traffic flow. It's,
Lake
it's
Worth
8 o'clock and 5 at
Lake Worth
night.
people are coming through that or to cut through to go.
Mhm.
Doesn't seem like a very direct route for like somebody from Lake Worth to come through.
They do it to avoid traffic. It is a nice way to avoid traffic. I don't know if you guys have been on 10th Avenue lately, but I try to avoid it with all costs.
The westbound traffic is about 650 to 750 cars, and the decreases to 450 to 550 on the weekends.
Right.
But we can't tell who's in those cars, obviously.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Chief, if we took those gates, those arms down off the gate, could we add like a police sign reader thing that shows your speed limit as you're going past it for a bit during this 6 months, so we can get a sense of maybe a traffic calming kind of type deal to help with encouraging folks to slow down, or if we remove
I
those
have
arms?
a LPR system that does a database and checks for vehicles that are wanted coming in. So we have a database tracking. So I got a number there, and coming in on my monthly report is about 17,945, which is actually lower than a lot of the other entrances to the town. Joe and I have met a few times, and if it's approved, the town is going to go ahead and we're going to move one of our speed signs that has a database that goes to the cloud that keeps track, so we can know leaving. I know what's coming in, but I don't have an idea actually what's going out.
You actually gave us that idea, so I gave it.
Yeah.
So thank you.
So
That's very good.
Yeah.
Actually,
We're going to take yours and your
We're gonna-
neighbors.
You're gonna take mine by mine.
That's right.
The other ones are connected.
So it's good and bad.
They're coming and going. So I was going to borrow one that we put by your place, put it down there, and that would give us some accurate information.
There's not a speeding issue there, what we see. So that's,
Yeah, no.
we're just going to borrow it for a little
It's
bit.
for the good of the town. I was actually using that, Chief, to map out how fast I'm running when I run. If I'm slacking or if I'm actually doing any work here. But yeah, no, I understand that that's gonna be necessary.
If you all approve it, I met with Joe, we got a plan. We'll go ahead and get it set up, and then we'll be able to give you some information in 6 months.
But we want to hear from the residents what they think. And I think the only way to really know is if it being down for a while.
Mhm.
I think.
Do you
Tim-
know when that, sorry, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, I think Tim probably has a few.
I'm gonna get to him. I'm gonna get to
Sorry, I
him.
didn't mean to-
It's okay.
Does
Do
you
you,
guys-
do you know when that was put in? I know it was with an agreement from Lake Worth.
I believe it was just shortly after the settlement. So the settlement
98 or
date
something like
is,
that.
05, was it 05? No.
I cannot find
So
it.
somebody mentioned to me that,
1998.
okay, so somebody mentioned to me that this, one of the big
98.
issues wasn't just the through traffic, but actually trucks specifically coming through from Lake Worth, using to cut through, avoid traffic, and that presents a much bigger risk to people walking, when we start having trucks using our roads.
It was a 98, and there is a provision in here that there's no commercial through traffic that they're supposed to adhere to.
That's just a concern of mine. I mean, public safety is always going to be my biggest
Now-
concern.
What I told the manager, and of course, he's been through there, if you go through there on Lake Worth side, they have probably about a half a dozen or more calming.
They've increased their traffic calming devices on that side.
So they got about a dozen when you come in from Lake Worth.
Well, I think it's really important to test it out, to hear from the residents. I mean, I was mentioning to Joe, I have this false sense of security from it. Like, people think they're coming to a gated community. It slows everybody down. Maybe it isn't as effective as it used to be. So very important for us to see how that goes and to get that data.
Right. On the positive side, I heard people say I feel like an exclusive neighborhood.
Yeah.
So that's the good comments, but we've heard more negative
Yeah.
comments.
Okay.
So
Just need consensus to go with that plan.
Yeah, we need a motion to, so let's just talk about that. What would you like the motion to say, that we take the
We just,
gate sign from Carambola?
yeah, I don't
move
need,
it to there?
I don't need,
Or we need to keep it down for 6
We
months?
just need you to agree to take the gates down. Management will
yeah,
work on.
we're going to do that. Yeah,
For a 6-month trial period.
and we'll move that sign from John's house. It's right on John's house.
You'll get upgraded police presence
Yeah.
while they're taking it down.
Yeah, Chief's been good.
So we need a
about
motion to,
I so move.
Yeah.
we will.
Well, then,
I just want to get it, I want to get it on there in discussion. We'll have discussion and you're going to come up. So do we have a second for that?
I'll
Yes?
second.
Okay, now Tim, come on up. We have it in place. Now we'll get some discussion from you guys.
Tim Daughtry, 1410 Keller Road. So the arms have been down for several weeks now.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and there's a cost associated with our staff fixing the arms, although lately, last couple of months, I've had to go pull them off and help with them and everything else. It's gotten worse and worse. Non-scientifically, I noticed more speeding heading towards Lake Worth rather than coming from Lake Worth, okay? Just my observation, okay? Since the arms are down, I have not noticed any increase in traffic, and I have not noticed any increase in speeding, okay? Honestly, I don't think it works. I think 6 months is totally appropriate, with the proviso that we need to implement some sort of traffic calming device now that the arms are down. And they don't have to be permanent. They can be temporary traffic calming devices, okay? We don't have, because we're talking about road improvements associated with the septic to sewer conversion, okay? So there's going to be a juggling ball that we're going to have to manage. And also with the provision that the Pine Tree Bridge is going to be closed, because guess what? Traffic won't go right past my house. It's just-
Well, it will increase your traffic.
Yes.
Significant.
But it won't be everyone, because there will be traffic going out on the
Port of Mango side.
Port of Mango side.
And I
But
understand.
that's important to coordinate that, in my opinion, with the county also, because their plan is to go over to the north side, then come back to this side. So that's a window for us to get 310 days in, so it doesn't really affect the traffic even
No.
worse.
Just me living in the house. Tina stays with her mom over in Wellesley, so it's not a big deal. I mean, I watch the traffic and I'm pretty careful getting in and out. But it's, actually, I've had more problems with people following me through the gates than I've had with
Yeah.
speeding and, you know, and breaking the gates and things like that. That's been the ones. And I slow down significantly when they come to the gate because I got to turn to go into my driveway anyway. And I slow down significantly. But they do get on my bumper, and I've been very worried about getting hit, you know, in that type of situation. But we need to implement within the 6-month period some sort of traffic management devices, okay? Because people are going to start speeding, and there are going to be more people coming through, okay? And with the construction of Pine Tree Bridge, it's definitely going to be a lot more, and it's going to affect me more than just about anybody else here. I mean, it's just that simple. And that's the way it goes, okay? And Pine Trees, I mean, Keller Road's always been an issue with speeding. There's always been an issue with speeding on that road. Again, going towards Lake Worth rather than coming in. That's just my observation.
Thank you.
Okay, that's just my observation.
No, thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't know that.
Is there any other audience, anybody else want to make a comment on that? Okay, so we had discussion and there's a motion on the table. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? No, carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Okay, now let's go to item B that was removed from the consent agenda, approval of resolution 2024-04, amending the bulkhead, dock and boat lift policy. Christie?
Section 1 says that amends the policy for construction or reconstruction of bulkheads, docks, or boat lifts. But later on, we talk about providing ongoing. So is it just if somebody's putting in a dock or redoing their seawall, or is this an ongoing issue that we're addressing here?
It's an annual issue. They're required to have the insurance continuously
Forever.
after the construction.
Okay. It reads a little differently to me, but I'll take your word for it.
And the problem we're having is that a lot of the property owners are having difficulty obtaining the 300,000 liability insurance. It's my understanding that Citizens was only insuring up to 100,000.
Yeah, a lot of our residents are now on Citizens Insurance and they will only give 100,000.
I'm delighted to take a monkey off of everybody's back. I thought it was, when I first read section 1, it read to me like it was just if somebody was putting in a new.
No, it's
ongoing.
Okay, that's all that's all the clarification I wanted.
But I will read it again. Make sure I'm fine. Charlie, I will read it again. There's another.
Yep, I'm just putting some notes down there.
The insurance is required for them to maintain their land use agreement. And the problem is, what do we do if they don't have insurance? And we felt it was better to have the 100,000 than no insurance at all.
Absolutely. And you know, it's obviously the insurance is a very serious issue that we're all dealing right now. So anything we can do to take the monkey off of the residents' back, I'm all for.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, so now the next item is item F.
Well, you got to make a motion to approve that one.
Oh, sorry. Yes, we do.
I so move.
I'll
Second,
second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Carries 5-0.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll move on to item F, approval of the town to foreclose on the property located at 7011 Haddon Road.
I understand that the property has a great number of liens that are just from us that are probably greater than the value of the home. But I think they also have liens, I'm assuming they also have liens from the county and probably water and others.
Yes.
Are we subordinate to county and water, or will we get any money when we foreclose on this property? Or are they senior liens to us?
I'm not sure what those liens are. They may be senior to us, but I don't know until I see what the liens are. I'm not aware of the county liens.
There's county liens.
So I can't answer your question. Some of them may be superior, but we should be able to recoup some of the liens that we have on the property. Now, understand, we haven't been able to foreclose up to this point because it's homestead. And homestead is a very confusing topic because a lot of people confuse homestead, which is the legal issue pertaining to your rights as an owner of the property, with homestead for taxation. They're two different issues. It's still homestead, but they're two different issues. And just because the property owner died does not extinguish the homestead. It's going to depend on who the future owner is. If it's an heir with intestate or testate succession, the homestead may remain in place. If it's not the heir, the homestead is most likely going to be extinguished. And there is a question now as to who the heir apparent is. And we don't know the answer to that yet. But if it is no longer homestead, not having anything to do with the homestead exemption for taxation, if it's no longer a legal homestead, then we can foreclose, and we will foreclose if you give us the permission to go forward.
But the heir would have to declare it as his homestead in order to.
Yeah, if the heir already has homestead property, can't homestead both. So at some point that homestead would be extinguished, yes. And there is a brother, and there are nephews and nieces, and there's also a resident in the property. So if you authorize us to go forward, we will go forward if and when the homestead is extinguished so that we can proceed. And that will require a determination of whether a probate proceeding takes place or whether there's been a deed issued. And we don't know those answers yet, but we will soon.
Good.
Thank you.
Motion,
So moved.
second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Carries 5-0.
Thank you again.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, point of
Yes.
order, we have a resident who would like to make this comment here.
Oh, okay. Yes, come on up.
Douglas Mastroni, 7005 Hayden Road, on the north border of this property. Been here for 7 years with this, dealing with this ordeal that with Mr. Barbie. I just want to, it has created damage to my property, to my fencing and all that kind of stuff. Whoever becomes the property owner, I just want to let it be known that because of the damages that have been allowed to be done to my property, that the new owner would be the one replacing the fence. And I don't know, nobody really, I don't know if they know this, the situation there.
I know the situation.
I've been going through a lot being the north neighbor, and I feel like I've never had anything done for us.
We
Like,
tried to help years ago, but it was a lawsuit filed from Legal Aid in Palm Beach County. Isn't that correct, Charlie?
That's correct.
Our hands were tied, sir. We're sorry.
But still that,
We couldn't do
my
it.
wife and my family.
I agree. I wouldn't,
No,
I wouldn't want that either. Is that Mr. Gerbis there?
Yes, he's another neighbor.
Yeah,
We-
no, I know we're talking.
We totally understand, but we could not do anything.
That was a huge legal battle
We
way back then.
we definitely feel your pain.
Yes.
The Legal Aid Society represented Mr. Barbie, and the court order required us, before we could do anything else, to come back to the court. And Legal Aid was constantly there, subverting where we needed to go to protect the abutting property owners. And hopefully now we can resolve this issue.
That's why we're being proactive.
So can us as the neighbor and what is the number of the liens that the town have on?
I was gonna,
$490,000, something like that.
so let me ask a question to Charlie for you, and that might help you. So Charlie, these apparent heirs will not have the same
Bless you.
Thank you.
comforts that Mr. Barbie had through legal aid. Would they then be required to bring it to the standards that it needs to be?
You don't know any of those.
Is that an unknown?
That is our hope and our plan, but until we know who the successor in interest is, we can't really answer that question. My understanding is that if it's one of the family members, they intend to sell the property and not keep the property. And in that event, yes, we would have it brought up to standard. If it's the resident, he very will go back to legal aid and we could have some of the same issues, but we don't know the answer to that at this point.
It's an unknown.
And we have not seen any legal documents yet, and no probate proceedings have been filed yet. So
In
we're
baseball-
anxiously awaiting.
In baseball terms, it's the first inning. It really is.
So it's close to $500,000 then.
Yes, I believe it's 490,000.
490.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's extensive.
No, we're working on it for you folks. We tried back then.
Yeah.
But it was just, and under legal advice, we were advised we were going to be sued, correct?
And lose it.
We would have been sued and we would have lost.
Well, I don't know that we'd have lost, but any of you who've gone through litigation in recent years know that it is extremely expensive.
Right.
And it was just a very difficult situation. And we are very hopeful that we can resolve those issues quickly.
You can call and talk to Joe and Joe can keep you in the loop
Anytime.
and let you know where things are going. Because I do feel for you folks over there. It was tough, very difficult situation.
Nice meeting you.
Now, you said there was a resident there. Is that related to,
That was Jim Barbie, who we had a moment of silence for.
and there's nobody
There too.
living there now?
No,
There is a tenant.
There is
We believe it's a tenant.
his caretaker.
Okay.
That was Jim's caretaker, Dana?
Bill Kennedy was one of them. There's two residents that have lived there. Bob's been there longer than I've been employed here, and then Bill Kennedy's been there.
Yeah.
Bob's in the hospital. Oh, is he?
Bob is in the hospital.
That's his residence. There's two of them.
Come on up.
Come on up.
Come on up.
Yeah, the more information helps us, but again, we're in the first inning. That was what we put on the agenda, just to start the process.
My name's Tom Gerbis, 1811 Carissa Road. My yard butts up to the side of Jim Barbie's house. I've only been here since 1986. Jim Barbie moved in approximately 6 months to a year after we did. Cute, beautiful little home. The day he moved in, the place went bad. 38 years. All I want to ask Greg especially, if that house does get sold or whatever is done, can you please get that place exterminated?
Yes.
Tent, the trees and whatever else is in there is totally, it's impassable. You
I think
can't walk through his
it's a
yard.
tear down.
Yeah, it's probably a tear down.
We hear.
It is a tear down,
We hear
Yeah.
it.
but it's got to be exterminated.
Well, yeah, just for the rats alone.
At the very least.
And the only other thing I'll ask every one of you, if you don't know where he lived, drive in your car, get out of your car, and I'll dare any one of you to walk into his house.
I've been in there, Tom, and I was shocked. And when I tell you there was 5 pens, there was 5 million pens stacked up and you could see the roof.
Batteries. Dirt.
Yeah.
Animals.
He had
The
mental.
doors never closed. The chief knows, the house caught on fire, the windows were blown out. Not another window's been put in that place.
I drove by the other day. You're right.
We, that's it for me. But Greg,
Thank you.
you and I have been friends a long time.
Yep. That's,
And I appreciate everything you guys are doing, but just drive by and take a look at it. And if you could show me another place in Lake Clark Shores that looks like that, I'll apologize.
No,
thank you.
Staff plans to be
Thank you for being
proactive
here.
on this.
good to see you, Tom.
Good to see you.
Okay. Any other comments? Nope. All right. Let's move on to status reports. Chief Adams, it's so nice to see you. I'm going to bring you up first. You've been so patient. It's so nice to see you.
Thank you very much. I really do appreciate that. I see a lot of familiar faces and unfamiliar. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Tracy Adams. I'm the district chief that serves your area. And thank you very much. I really do love the town of Lake Clark Shores. It's nice to see how well everyone works together. And nice to see Mr. Clark still involved, retired but involved. That definitely says something about the community here. So it's very good to be back. Thank you. I've been serving this area I'm in my 4th year. So I've been to many council meetings. So as far as numbers, last month, it looks like we ran 26 calls in Lake Clark Shores and 23 of them being medical calls, 2 being motor vehicle accidents and 1 being a fire alarm. The other thing I want to just bring to your attention is I've kind of always tried to sell you guys on the social media that we have for Palm Beach County Fire Rescue. And for those of you that are on maybe Facebook or Instagram, that I encourage you to look at it. So we recently at the county commission meeting, the commissioners recognized Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, specifically the Drowning Prevention Coalition, which is a part of Palm Beach County Fire Rescue. It was April 1st, I believe, and they made a proclamation demonstrating that Palm Beach County's commitment to prevent fatal and non-fatal drownings through awareness, education, and free and reduced cost to swim lessons for eligible children and their caregivers. So that was kind of neat of the commission to be able to make that proclamation, especially since you guys are right here in a waterfront community. So I encourage you to join that site and get those the social media that we do send out. Other than that, I was just kind of briefly looking at Sidelines, and I was excited to see that in that magazine for the spring that you talk a little bit about the hurricane season, because I just actually received an email that we are starting to now hunker down and start our preparations for hurricane season. It's April, and June 1st is the beginning of storm season. So that's like 6 weeks away. So I do encourage the residents, the community, to take a look at that report and start your preparations. Start your preparations at home, and have a plan, a contingency plan, and be safe. And that's all I have. Thank you very much for the warm welcome back. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great seeing you.
Thank you.
Do I have any questions for Chief Adams?
No.
Anyone? No? Okay. Chief Smith, you're up.
Yes, sir. The police department responded to 401 calls for service. Give you a little idea: domestic violence, neighbor issues, mental health issues, sexual battery investigation, and then civil issues. That's just part of the 401 calls. We assisted Palm Springs with 6 calls for service. The Marine unit was out. There were 3 arrests last month on warrants, failure to appear, battery, another one a battery out of county warrant for non-support. The officers completed 235 traffic stops for the month. They wrote 87 citations. 41 of those were criminal violations. There were a total of 9 vehicle crashes, 1 hit and run crash. The LPR camera system
ran 128,809 tags to the 7-camera system. The LPR system that we have set up ran 17,945 tags coming into the town on Keller Road. Some of the hits, stolen tags, expired driver's license, no insurance. And we did get another hit with the FBI on a suspect that's on the terrorist watch list. This is the second time. And they're on the watch list. So I can't discuss anything. They just keep track of the individuals, but it's the second time. Lieutenant Fisher attended the Florida Police Chiefs Association for Future Chiefs training at Florida Atlantic University. And code enforcement. Code enforcement, 87 violations was issued, 102 re-inspections completed, 25 code board cases will be brought before the code board, 7 false alarm fines issued, 15 golf cart inspections completed, and 10 followed up complaints. If there's any questions.
Do we have any questions for the chief? No?
Okay.
That's good. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
My report is included in your agenda packet. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Charlie, the council? No? Joe?
I'll just give a quick review of my status report. The next meeting will be May 14th. That's also a CRA meeting. On the event front, we had a great fishing tournament that went really well last Saturday. And Footprints is next Wednesday. We have a guest speaker, Lisa Snyder, who's a nurse practitioner. She's local and she's going to talk about wound care. So if you want to know anything about wound care, come to our next senior luncheon, which is next Wednesday. The 20th is the Great American Cleanup, which is a Saturday from 8 to noon. The next food truck event is May 31st. It's usually on a Friday. Just going over these things really quickly. We did have a good meeting with the state, the governor's office about the merits of our request for the $250,000. That's why I'm saying I'm getting good feedback. But again, nothing is 100%. On the consent agenda we're also planning on doing security and surveillance camera updates on this site here and on the police department site. Mar-a-Lago K, we're still working on getting those new. Let me take a second because that's very impactful how much that is. That's 620 customers that will come online. They're in our service area, and what they're doing and what they're proposing, and Charlie's been instrumental in working on this, is they actually will build the system, put all the meters in it, and all the lines in their development, about a $10 million infrastructure, and then they will, I call it donate, but they sell it to the town for $10. And then the town takes it over and that will be in our service area. They are already our sewer customer. So this will add maybe a third of our customers. So we have about 2,000 customers. So this is a big deal. And it looks like it's going forward. The audit will be on the next agenda. We're in the final stages. We're still doing that federal mandated lead pipe inspection. Not only there's asbestos, there's lead was banned in 1989, but we still have to make sure anything that was constructed before 89 that does not have lead. So that's a big ordeal taking it all over the country. The CRA, we updated the website. We showed some more important facts and going to the new stages of the CRA. Like I said, CRAs, as I said last month, they hire people at this stage, they hire consultants, they market, they can hire staff. I mean, there's many things we're going to start talking about the CRA and how to market it and how to encourage quality development. The water meter change out's going well, 2 or 3 month process. It's in the first stages. Then we had other items. We did some repairs, but on the barbecue after action debriefing meeting, we had a lot of positive feedback. I hope you all enjoyed the picnic and the barbecue because we thought it went well. But 2 suggestions staff is discussing right now is maybe having it earlier in February, and we'll bring that instead of March. and maybe having it on a Saturday afternoon, evening instead of a Sunday. So staff will keep talking about that, and then we'll obviously get you involved in that too. We're trying to make some improvements from safety and reliability improvements, hurricane season on our generator. We are replacing currently our flooring in the police department. You can always come see it. It's coming out nice. Great job, Dana. We went out to bid for pest control. We had some repairs. And also, I think I mentioned this to some of you, we're looking at improving the boat ramp. There's a little strip of grass or dirt on the north and south side. It doesn't make any sense because people are driving over it on a daily basis. It's never going to grow. So we're looking at putting some hardscape there or asphalt. So it will be a permanent, and actually, I think it'll look better. It'll be more cleaner. So that's my update. If anybody has any questions.
Mr. Mayor, if I may. Joe, just real quick for the CRA, how are we looking for lights for the North Park?
The last thing we discussed is we have it on our calendars to start to go out to bid in July because we're going to put it in next year's budget and have it shovel ready. So October 1st.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
Lights for the boat ramp?
No, I'm sorry, pickleball court.
The
Well,
park.
The park.
The park.
We already have lights at the pickleball court for the park, so
Yeah.
for safety.
Any other questions? Nope.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, now we'll move on to council comments. We're going to start down there with you, Chrissy. You're up and Adam.
Thank you. I want to thank all of you all for coming tonight and for staying all the way to the end. We had a nice turnout at the beginning. Emily, how many people typically watch us online?
I would say about 10. Tonight we didn't have as many people. I think at the most maybe we had 7.
Don't count my wife.
Well, I want to thank everybody online as well for coming today. I know we made a resolution thanking everybody for the and Bill as well for their good service to the barbecue. I want to give a special shout out to the Shaloubs because they're up at 6 a.m. putting pork in smokers, and they're there at 6, 7, 8 at night pulling it out at least 2, if not 3 days in a row. And that's just yeoman's duty. So I'm particularly grateful to them. And I also want to mention Genevieve came to me at the barbecue and mentioned the yard sale issue. So I think that anything we can do to help our seniors is very important. And so I don't know if that's a point for discussion now or in the future.
We're going to try to look at it now while you guys are talking, but usually it doesn't give the manager discretion. So what that means usually is you have to change the ordinance or the fee schedule or put an exemption for seniors or something. But we'll try to look at it, but usually fees are not negotiable by the manager.
The history with that, if you don't mind me adding.
Yes, please.
Is we had people running businesses and we were getting a lot of complaints selling cars every weekend. So that's why it was put in place to do that. I think you get 1 or 2 permits a year.
You get two permits and it's $25, I think, right?
But sometimes people get upset with the town, but there's a history to it. There's a reason why it was done.
Yeah, I don't think she's asking for having more events. She just wants to have no charge for the seniors. So that's.
Could we do potentially like a senior discount? Like, you know how you get your AARP card when you turn 65 and you can get donuts?
You guys are the policymakers.
You can do it, but it has to be in the ordinance.
It might have to.
We can do anything we want. We have to change the ordinance.
Or at least a resolution. It might be in our.
That's what they got, Charlie.
Right.
He handles all that.
Right. It usually doesn't give me or you all to discretion. It has to be a resolution or ordinance change. Usually, sometimes it does give me the flexibility. But
I don't think it does.
But usually it doesn't.
So is it a resolution or an ordinance?
We're trying to look it up. It could be in our fee schedule, which is a resolution. So that would be 1 reading. I hope it's in there if you guys wanted to consider a change, because if it's an ordinance, it takes 2 months.
It is a resolution fee schedule.
It's in the fee schedule. Thank you. So that we can bring that up at the next meeting. If you give a consensus, we can do that.
I think, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I think it's a consensus.
Absolutely.
You still have the floor, Chrissy.
Pardon me?
You still have the floor.
Oh, I move that we discuss it or resolve it at the next meeting.
Have a resolution by next meeting?
So if you can help us a little bit, like what was presented or what was proposed to have a senior discount?
A senior discount or
Seniors are free?
Yeah, or seniors get one free one a year. Or I'm open to, Genevieve, are you still here?
Yes. She is.
What would you like to see us, what? Oh, we're talking about the yard sales, your issue. How often does a senior have a yard sale? Once a year?
So we'd be waiving it for one time.
No, but I mean, you wouldn't have more than one a year, or you might. Okay.
Okay, well, I think I got enough direction.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Taylor, you're up.
Thank you. And I want to thank my fellow council members for their vote of confidence in Councilmember Mosbach, and I'm very honored to be here representing this community. I also want to say thank you to the staff, not only for the barbecue, but for those of you who don't know, the Friday before the barbecue, they were all out there hosting the most adorable family movie night that I brought my entire family to. So thank you, because I feel like that's like above and beyond that weekend. You guys must have been so tired. And for those of you that have families, you should absolutely come out to the next one. They did an excellent job. And I also want to thank Councilmember Mosbach for all of your efforts around bringing quality potential people to represent us for the panel, for the educational panel. I think the work that you've done there is really above and beyond. So thank you for those efforts. That's all.
I want to thank you ladies again for continuing to serve. I think, again, I reiterate that we have a good balance here, a good background across the board to, I believe, represent the residents in different ways. So hopefully we're doing our job and doing that. I want to thank all the residents for coming out. Hopefully we're get the information out there. I'm all about education, and if there's something you're not hearing, please reach out to one of us and or Joe to get you that information. I look forward to serving you in the future.
John?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I echo the sentiments of this council, but I do want to also say thank you to everyone for staying tonight. And also, Joe, if we can look into, Jim and Carol mentioned the Gregory Road and the line of sight.
Yeah, no, I
issue.
wrote that down.
Okay.
That's a safety concern. Obviously, I'm gonna look at that.
Okay, all right, perfect. Just so no one gets hurt and they feel
Yes.
safe over there, and with everything else we got coming down the pipeline.
No, thank you.
I think that's going to be important. I also echo Genevieve, just figuring out if we can do a senior discount, senior citizens. You've earned the right to get some kind of break there. So we want to see what we can do to help, and definitely will support that. But we got a lot of good things happening, and we're excited that to be a part of such a beautiful town and be able to make these decisions. So we're working for you guys. We're giving our best up here every night, and we're doing it because we love this town. We love the people in it. So thank you.
Okay. All right, Emily, Mary, Joe.
I think he's.
Eduardo, yes.
He wants to interrupt you.
On the issue of the garage sale, let me just read you, it's very short, the language. This is the ordinance. Permit required. No garage sale, carport sale, yard sale, sidewalk sale, outdoor sale, or other similar activity, including sales of individual items, shall be permitted in any district without the issuance of a permit from the town. There shall be a fee charged by the town for the issuance of the permit. So we have to charge a fee. This permit fee shall be established by the town by resolution, as the town clerk appropriately told us, and may be amended from time to time by resolution. Until established by the town by resolution, there shall be a $20 fee charged by the town for the issuance of the permit. Only one permit for one sale event or activity shall be issued to any one street address, property, legal description, property owner, or organization during any calendar year. So we've the fee is $20 unless established by resolution, and you can set it at whatever you want in the resolution, but there has to be a fee by ordinance unless you amend the ordinance. And there's only one permit per year.
Not two.
Not two.
Well, we can suggest like a $1 fee for senior citizens.
I'm good with that. I think that's,
Yeah, if they sell anything good, they'll make that money back the same day.
That said one per street, so if there's different residents that want to, like,
They-
they could alternate.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, sir, of course. I just wanted to thank everybody for the help on the fishing tournament. Bill, thank you very much. Came over and cooked. Eduardo, I know he's not here. Chief, thank you. Dana, thank you for having them there, picking me up. Everything was very nice. I think we ended up having 16 boats, 17 boats, something
Wow.
like that.
Oh, wow. Catch any fish?
It was, yep. The big fish was 6.55. It was 6.55.
Nice.
And I think the aggregate weight winner was 12 something. So it actually, for such a nice day, it was a little slow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was really slow, considering it was so nice, but we have the 20th coming up, Bill, as you know, and Bill's out there, spread the word. They still bring the dumpster there and do all of that.
Yes.
This is our main one, right? The spring one is the main one. Because I know we've been doing one in September too. But this is the main one, right? It's conjunction with Keep Palm Beach County Beautiful. Good. So once again, the town has wonderful volunteers. We just really do. They show up, they come out. I didn't even know you were coming, Bill, but it was a great help to everybody. And the people who come here and participate in those things, they recognize it and they do tell me. So that's the good news. So everybody, thank you for staying. Have a good evening and we'll see you the next time. Let's keep moving forward.
Thank you again, Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Adjourn.
Motion,
What?
need motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, I'll
second.
make a motion.
So moved. We're adjourned. I was spitting it out.
I have the motion.